saw it. You have to, I think you, there it is.
Let's go. Good seeing you. Okay. On you, man. It's too short.
It's 5:30.
Yeah, I can tell.
Oh, it's on me. Oh, it's me. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the Community and Economic Development Committee to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Wayhill,
Here.
Commissioner Avery,
Here.
Commissioner Flewelling, Commissioner Lloyd.
Present.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public comment to the committee? Public comment to the committee, going twice. Public comments now closed. Communications. We do have a communication from our Director of Planning, Mr. Derek Bradshaw.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let's see if I can get technology to work for me. And I got to move this microphone up a little bit, so. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to give a real brief update on where we're sitting with our countywide master plan. We've been at this for about a year and a half, probably in that. We're starting to get towards the end of it, so I thought it was a good time to come back to this body and just give an update. So this is our 2025 master plan. We have a master plan steering committee, has about 17 members on that. That's anybody from environmental, water and waste on there. We have small local units, large local units, consumers energy, just a wide range of people that are on the steering committee for our master plan. I go back to basics. Why do we plan? Why are we doing a plan, right? Obviously, empower the public, raise public awareness, attract funding opportunities. So if we have a plan, we know what to go after. Include everybody in that vision and process, so it's a county-wide process. And most importantly, provide a guidance for future development in Genesee County. Data-driven process. Throughout the process, the steering committee, we bring data to them to help guide their decisions. So I picked out a few that I think really set the stage for why this is important. Number one, our death rate has surpassed our birth rate in Genesee County, which is a large concern, especially if you multiply that down the road. Where are we going to end up from a population basis? Only 16% of residents are satisfied with their internet and broadband, and if anybody knows about technology and where we're going, and that's a large concern. 7,000 shortage of 7,000 affordable housing units shortage. So we've talked about that in the past. About 40,000 homes are in need of repairs. Those repairs may be just tired windows, right? Old aluminum siding on their houses. We have a lot of houses that were built in the 50s and 60s and a little bit in the 80s and 90s. And those houses now are actually getting quite old. And we're not always seeing that reinvestment back in communities. So these are not always, when we say in need of repairs, it could be just that homeowner hasn't put money into that house to bring it up. And then 50% of renters are cost burdened. So we see more and more rents are getting extremely high. There's a shortage of houses. Those rents are so high that it would be, quite frankly, way cheaper for a person to actually be buying a house if there was a house available in just about every price range. Part of this entire process, we had very robust public involvement. So this kind of summarized we've done up to date. About 14,000 people we notified for different projects in the plan directly. We did community open houses all over different places in the county, go to where the communities are. We had about 1,000 people attend those. 2,800 people through our social media. And then we did community surveys, online surveys, where a little over 500 people. So as far as the plan, we have 5 overall visions, one around community development, economic development, environmental, quality of life, and infrastructure. With those different visions, we actually have actionable steps by both elected officials, our local units of government, agencies, and residents, because a plan is only as good as the implementation. So we need to have clear, actual, actionable steps that people can do with that plan. So where are we in the process? We're getting towards the end part of the process. So our steering committee received some draft stuff, I think last meeting. October, the draft, the committee should, barring any comments, put that out so we can get public comment on that. Our public comment will last from November to January. That's part of state regulations on the length of time. And then we'll be coming back to this body and a couple others in February and March for final approval. So, and then I have a link to that plan. I will share the PowerPoint after the presentation. But other than that, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. What questions do you have? Mr. Lloyd?
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Brown. So, great job, excellent job. Question, and appreciate the time that's been put in by the Planning Commission and you and your team and others who participated. I'm looking for the alignment with this, with like the priorities that were set for the commissioners. I see some alignment when you had the circles up there, and I'm just trying to see, you know, I don't know, was any of that maybe discussed as a part of that? How do we align it? But the other piece is, in terms of this process and the timeline you laid out, I'm trying to think about how do we, because there's gonna be submissions to the state and other partners, how do we kind of merge in, you know, perspective of the board, discussions that we've had. We'll be restarting those conversations here, next wave of committee meetings. But can you just talk a little bit about that? What happens at the Planning Commission and what happens at the board? How is all of that kind of brought together?
Right. And that's a very timely conversation, right? So our goal is to meld those together. So I tried to be very succinct in this. So the board's priorities and those type of things should be reflected in those. And in this process, that'll allow time that the board can take, you know, time to go through to see if that makes sense to what the board's looking for. Because ultimately, you know, the Planning Commission will approve it, but ultimately we're looking for the county board to approve this. So yes.
Thank you. Just one follow-up question. And so I guess some clarity in terms of like the final approvals, submittal to the state, federal partners, what exactly is being submitted, just kind of like broad, because I'm trying to, I guess what I'm trying to reconcile is, like, so if we've had some priorities that we set and there are various projects or, you know, different areas that we're thinking about, Planning Commission has put this together, done a great job, then there's something being submitted to the state. How do we make sure that what we've discussed or what we're looking for is included in whatever it is that's being submitted to the state? You follow me?
Yes.
Okay.
So part of this, and this plan is large.
Sure.
It's quite large. But part of there will be an exec summary, which is a smaller document that'll outline the key details in there. So when we get to that part, which we're working on for that exec summary, we will share the actual details of that, so you'll have time to respond to that to see if that's something what you're looking for. So, and that will be before we ask for any approvals
Okay.
at Planning Commission or any of the others. We actually have this is a combined plan. This is actually about 3 or 4 plans we put into one. But you'll have an opportunity to give input before we bring that plan to any of the other committees for final approval.
Okay, just one last
Sure.
question, and I'll digress. So the final approvals, and if it's okay, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So the final approvals and the submittals to the state and federal partners in the February, March 2026 timeframe, is that something that ultimately comes to us for us to approve before it goes? So you're saying between now and then we'd be able to make sure whatever those
100%.
things are included in that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you
Yep.
for your indulgence.
I appreciate the question.
I'm more clear, thanks so much.
Yep.
Other questions? Commissioner Wayhill?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate all the work that's gone into this. Couple of questions. The public comment period and the open houses, what will that look like?
So it's a 63-day comment period. And then with that, we usually do some open houses. I'll go back and look at what the details, I'm not sure today exactly what we've planned.
I would welcome an open house in the 8th District. How's that?
Okay.
And then, in terms of the state and federal partners, to piggyback on Commissioner Lloyd, is this document required to be filed for certain funding opportunities, certain agencies, state or federal? What would those be?
Right. So, we approach this as in the past, the planning commission used to do 3 or 4 different plans. We did a plan for HUD, we did a plan for transportation funding. So this is really, which is what a master plan is supposed to be, is a guiding document for all of those. So, the priorities for our HUD funds will be from here. The same for our transportation plan. This will act as our transportation plan. And same, it'll lead the discussion for our material management plan. Any of the plans that we do, this is what we use to guide all of our projects.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions from other commissioners? Thank you, Mr., sorry, Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Turn this thing on. That's why you weren't hearing me. I apologize. Thanks for the information. One, could you send us that then?
100%.
Is it in there and I missed it? Because I didn't see it in there, but.
I will send the PowerPoint with the link and everything to
Okay,
everybody.
thank you.
Yes.
So where did all those numbers that you showed us to the beginning, because data is great, but if you don't understand where it comes from or how it was put together, because numbers can be made to mean a lot of things if you spin them the right way. So I'm just wondering where it came from and how what was the process of putting those together? Is it going to be in the slide deck you send us, or?
Yeah, so there's technical reports for each of those data that actually gets into each of those data sources. So like, for example, the birth rate, death rate, that's the state demographer for the state of Michigan, right? And each one of those reports actually, and we work really hard to make sure we have local data at a local level. In each of our communities, actually, we will, which we did in the past, we'll have a breakdown. So that's countywide stuff, right? You'll see breakdowns by community. So like Fenton Township will have something, Swartz Creek will have another one, which will break down the data. Because I think it's important as a community to understand that, because sometimes people think, oh, well, that's just Genesee County, right? And so we want to make sure our locals understand the population loss is in communities that you would not think that there's population loss because of our death rate, our birth rate, and our birth rate going down. So, but yeah, all that's, the sources for all those are all in there.
If I may.
Go ahead.
The death rate to birth rate is a very interesting one, just from the fact that later in that presentation, you talked about a shortage of housing of 7,000. In your committee, are you guys considering at all the fact that we have a large number of baby boomers and that are retirees that are here in our area that obviously are going to free up a lot of housing in the next 10 to 15 years when we're putting plans together? Is that something they consider also?
We are. That also comes into the fact that we're not seeing our household size going way down. So in the past, we used to have a lot of families would buy houses. Now we're seeing single people buy houses and a single person, like with maybe a spouse, will buy a house. So that is taken into account in the overall process. But yes, I think the next 20 years, I think we will see some changes in population composition, I think would be the best way to say it.
Okay. Thank you, and if there's any more, I'll definitely email you back. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions from other commissioners? Okay, I want to thank Derek and the whole team for all the technical reports that were done were really comprehensive, and the steering committee has also asked some really crucial questions along the way with the maps that you showed and the methodology, and all the technical reports were really, really well done. So bravo with this process. And if you could also send all the commissioners the date for the October steering committee meeting, and that way, if they're interested in coming to see the overall narrative, I think it might be valuable for them to understand the connection between the board's priorities and what the master plan looks like.
Okay, I will, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, do we have any old business? I don't think we do. New business, Resolution 2025-2161, approval of purchase orders to various vendors for fiscal year ending 2026 in an amount not to exceed $2,108,786,040 to provide home improvement repairs for Genesee County's Home Improvement and Urgent Repair Program. The cost of this purchase order is fully grant-funded and will be paid from the accounts listed.
I'll move it.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Question and discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker, you have a question?
I'm not on the committee, but I do have a question if no one
Sure, go ahead.
go before me. Just how do we choose these contractors, and how do we determine what amount each one should get? I'm just trying to understand the process a little better.
Sure. I'll have I'll have Mr. Bradshaw come back up because I asked him the same question earlier.
Thank you, Commissioners. So we actually have a pre-qualified contractor list, so currently out there on our website, any contractor is able to apply to become pre-qualified. So the list in front of you are all the pre-qualified vendors that meet all the requirements that we have of the program. And then what happens is, every time there's a job that comes up, the pre-qualified list gets that same bid specs. Then that pre-qualified list then puts their bids in, and then we choose the lowest bid from the people on the pre-qualified list.
if
Go
I
ahead.
may. These are pre-approved dollar amounts, though. They don't know the work they're gonna get into yet, correct?
Correct.
Because it's repairs. So how do we pick the lowest bidder when you don't know what the job is?
So go ahead, Josh.
So you have a house that has, let's just say you're gonna put windows in, I don't know if that. They put this out to the list of pre-qualified bidders, and they say, this is the house, this is the job that needs to be done, and then those pre-qualified bidders submit bids, and then they review
So
those bids.
Excuse me. So it's bid on basically a labor rate per job beforehand, then we give them an amount of parameters they have to stay within. Okay, that makes more sense. So, thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2025-2164, approval of a purchase order to the Genesee County Land Bank for the fiscal year ending 2026 to provide for budgeted property acquisition costs for Genesee County's Neighborhood Stabilization Program and Neighborhood Rehab Resale Programs.
Move it.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Question and discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker.
That would be me. I guess we're gonna give the land bank money to sell property, or to buy property. Who are they buying this from? Normally, the property that came back to the land bank was from tax foreclosure. Why are we spending dollars? You know, why are we giving our money to land bank, to buy property when they get enough? I hear from residents all the time, they have so many pieces of property, especially in certain areas. Why are we giving them money? Just a
Yeah,
question.
my understanding is that this is an annual thing that we do, and I'm going to ask Mr. Bradshaw to come back up to, again, to kind of explain the process for this resale program and how it works.
So, that's a good question. The land bank, so these properties are bank foreclosures, so they're not tax foreclosures. So with the bank foreclosure, the land bank buys the property, right? So these money go to the land bank that buy the property. We go in and remodel that property, fix that property up, bring it up to standards. The property gets sold, and then they return the money back to us for the sale of the property. So we're really just using them to hold the property as a agent to just hold the property while we do the improvements to it.
So if I may, Dr. Brown.
Go ahead.
So I understand this correctly, it's part of the program where we're repairing it, when you say we, Genesee County,
Correct,
not the land bank,
correct.
they're holding the property. Why, and I've never understood this portion, why wouldn't we just do that for ourselves instead of having to involve the land bank?
That's, the question, that's been since the start of this program. And this program's been around for a bit, right, 10, 15 years. The county wasn't interested in holding property, and so when this program started, the county wasn't interested in holding and actually owning the property, so all property went to the land bank. They basically held it for us and then gave us the proceeds back. So they're really just acting as a holding agent. And during that process, they'll do the mowings for us, they'll carry the insurance for us on the property, so that the property's insured and mowed, which is a good thing. And it kind of takes us out, that's not necessarily our forte, is owning property and maintaining them. And so they pretty much take care of that, and there's a small nominal charge. They're not making any money on this for us.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you know if we pay when we sell the property back and forth, we're paying state and taxes and fees, title transfer fees and everything else like that?
So the property owner would, I know that, like when it gets sold.
Well, they're paying some, but obviously if you make a profit on that property, I just wondered, as a government entity, are we when I sold my last house, I made money on it, so I had to pay tax.
Right.
And Dr. Brown was nice to provide me some information also about some proposals maybe wanting to increase that. But the fact is are we paying all those fees? So what we're saving, is it more or less, what those numbers are?
I'd have to
I
really.
understand,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about it further, because here's I love and I love this, is when we say, that's the way we've done it. And we should always be looking for new ways to do it. I think we've done a great job of that the last couple of years, of trying to look at new ways to do things, new ways to spend things. But I just don't, I never understood why we have to transfer to them other than mowing some lawns, which can be contracted out. If it creates a cost or an increased cost, so we have to sell the property for more, we make less. It just is also another question. Like I said, I appreciate, I don't get a vote on this,
And
but if you
what
could
what
call
I'll
me.
do is I'll actually take our last property and just walk through what the costs were totally for the entire property from when we got it from the bank. I'll figure those costs out, and then that way it's a real world example in a real community as opposed to some guess, right? I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any, Commissioner
Go ahead.
Cousineau?
Yeah, Derek, where's the money come from for us to pick the property up?
So originally.
What fund is that coming from?
So originally, this is all program income. So we've been doing this, so
It's a revolving type
it's
thing.
a revolving loan. So like, we'll buy a house, we fix it up, we sell it, that money goes back in the pot, we reinvest it. And so all this money originally came from the federal government,
Okay.
but that's been.
So it never came out of the county's money?
Correct. It's all
It
federal
still
money
doesn't.
at the start, and then we actually have done very well with this program, which is a good thing. And we've had this money to actually reinvest into those communities.
Okay, it's ringing some bells now, but
Yep.
at any rate, do you keep you mentioned the last property, but do you keep well, this is actually a business, do you keep like a P&L statement on these properties in this program to see if we are making money in the long run and breaking it down?
Yeah, so our intent is to not make money on the project. Our intent is to bring the value of the neighborhood up.
Okay,
Right.
but your intent is not to lose money either.
If there has to be a loss, we would like that loss to be a minimal amount, right? So I'll use an example. The last house that we did was over in Burton off of Belsey Road. Bought it as a foreclosure. Top houses in that neighborhood were selling for $150. It was a stable-ish neighborhood, had not seen anybody get rid of the aluminum siding, the aluminum windows, but a fairly stable neighborhood. We came in, did the project, sold that house for mid to high 70s, which was pushing the market in that area, right? And then now that's a comp, and when I go, and literally before we were doing the house and after, those houses now are selling in the 170s, right? So our goal in these neighborhoods is not necessarily to make money on that individual property, but to bring the property values up in that entire neighborhood, because overall, now all of those homeowners around that now see that it's okay to put new siding on your house and put a new roof and a nice porch and really make that a nice thing, you'll start to see that back in that neighborhood.
All right, now, yeah, it's ringing bells now.
Yep.
In the
So,
planning
yeah, it's not-
commission for
it's not-
years, I've
It's not
listened
to
to
make
this.
money, but it's, you know, at the same time, we're
Right.
doing it, right?
Well, it's to improve the community as a whole. so,
Correct.
Yeah.
And did you have another question?
I got a couple, but go ahead. if you want.
Can you talk a little bit, Derek, about how the properties are selected for this targeted stabilization program?
Right. So when this program came down originally, we had targeted areas that were predetermined by our federal government, that there's only certain neighborhoods we can work in Genesee County. So those are the neighborhoods, and we have a map that shows all the different neighborhoods. And then the next piece is we have to get houses that are foreclosed by the bank. And we really have not seen a ton of those, right? Like compared to the past. So that's why you'll see a onesies and twosies of these right now. But we basically we'll get a first look at that. We'll rush out real quick, look at that property, because we want to make sure that when we invest that money in that neighborhood, that we're going to see the result of bringing that neighborhood back up, right? So that's a piece when we do an evaluation of whether it makes sense to buy that house or not, that we will see that investment back in that neighborhood.
Okay, other questions?
Well, you asked one of them, so that was great. So see, you saved time right there. And I think you answered the next one. I was gonna ask, how many are we doing annually?
So I think we have 2 in the hopper right now. I
That's
think
about what we do annually then?
2 to 3, because we're picky, you know, like, because we do want to make sure it's a investment in that neighborhood. But I would say we're doing about 2 or 3. You know, at one time, we were doing 10 to 20. But foreclosures in neighborhoods that we think make sense to reinvest in, those are few and far between right now.
Commissioner Shoemaker?
Because of the lack of foreclosures, have we thought of looking at other revenues, or is there other sources of fee program as far as housing?
It comes back to original program guidance. And
But is that program, that grant dead, or the government? that
So,
program?
so what we've been doing recently is moving that to a different pot, so we have more flexibility. So yes, we have looked at trying to expand that beyond what the original program was.
And I think we've talked about this, I know we've talked about this before, but at a larger level, it can make more of an impact than we are with the onesie or twosie level, so that's something.
100%, I agree with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Bradshaw? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There is no other business. We are adjourned at 5:58.
Okay, I call the Finance Committee to order at 5:59. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Here.
Commissioner Getzinger,
Here.
Commissioner Wayhill,
Here.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Lloyd.
Present.
I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Support.
Is there any discussion or comments? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We now take time for public comment to the committee. Is there anybody that from the public, wishes to make a comment to the committee? Please step forward. Second call. Please state your name and residence. I take that as a warning. All right, third call. Public comment is now closed. Communications, we have communications from our CFO, Crystal Simpson, on the proposed fiscal year 2025-26 budget. Please step up, Crystal.
Good evening. In the packet, you had the proposed budget for 2025-2026. It is 80 pages long, so I didn't plan to stand here and cover it this evening. We did have multiple presentations along the way. We had the department head meetings, or some of you were able to attend. Some of you reached out with your own personal questions, but I'm happy to entertain any questions you have from looking at your board packet. I do have a copy that will be going to the clerk's office after this meeting. It will also be available on our website. Next meeting, we do have a few changes for our adopted budget book, but that will be before you next meeting for approval for next fiscal year.
Crystal, thank you for all your work for the budget hearings, and thank you to all the department heads for the multiple memos and that good information that they provided. I think it bears repeating at a big picture level that you're proposing a balanced budget for the
Yes.
county, for our general fund. I think that's required by law, but it's also just good policy. Do you want to say a few words about that?
Sure. I think there's sometimes some confusion on a balanced budget. Some of the funds you'll see in this budget document are using fund balance for next year. General fund is not, but as long as you have available fund balance to cover when expenditures exceed your revenue, then that's still considered a balanced budget. And some of those things are, we may receive grant revenue this fiscal year, but we can't spend it because we have contracts that, you know, are being postponed or something, so we can't spend it until next fiscal year. So there's a lot of reasons why, you know, you may be dipping into fund balance and some of those grant funds. But as long as there's enough fund balance available to cover that, it's still considered a balanced budget. But yes, general fund, we were able to work with the departments and get it down to where we're not using any fund balance for general fund.
Thank you again for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make a comment. That's one of the reasons why we and Crystal always recommends that we keep a certain percentage of our fund balances is because of that revolving grants and the need for the money to be there when needed and then get the grant later. So, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to applaud you and all the department heads, too, for answering all those questions that we had, because we did have a lot of added questions this year, given the uncertainty at the federal level. And so we did ask all the departments to really take into consideration, or at least try to take into consideration those implications. And so I want to applaud everybody for just doing a great job in terms of putting together a realistic budget.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Crystal? Seeing none, thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any other old business, do we, Mr. Freeman? No, sir. New business. I'm looking for a motion for Resolution 25-0023, approval of request by Genesee County Sheriff Office to eliminate the position of Director of Community Engagement and create, post, and fill a position of Lieutenant of the Sheriff's Office interdictum team.
I'll move it. Support.
Could we have somebody from the sheriff step up and explain this? I assume that's what you wanted, right?
Well, yeah, I got a couple.
Good afternoon,
Go ahead, Mr.
Captain
Shoemaker.
Jason Murphy, the Sheriff's Office. Commissioners, thanks for allowing us to come up here today.
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, we're attempting to create a position of lieutenant in our GHOST team. Right now, we have one lieutenant. We want him to be in charge of the human trafficking side. We want to promote another one and make him in charge of the interdiction narcotics side. That person's already in there as a sergeant, and he would be next up to be promoted if we're granted this position. It won't be any general fund. It'll be paid for out of the GIVE grant.
Mr. Shoemaker, did you have any?
He answered a lot of it, so it's pretty good. My next question, is there an increase in your, it's already in your budget then,
Correct.
for 2026?
Correct.
Okay. And there's no real increase, is there an increase in wage or?
It will be a little bit. He's currently a sergeant. I think it would be maybe $1, maybe a little more an hour for his wage.
If I may continue just real quick. Okay, we move him to this position, which is grant funded. Is he currently grant funded?
I believe he is right now. I do believe, I don't have that right in front of me.
Well, the reason I ask that is what would happen, and because we've had this happen, we take somebody from a salary employee, we put them onto a grant, and then that grant disappears, and then you fill that other position with a
Grant funded.
the
yeah.
replacement with a non-grant, and then all of a sudden, we're having to come up with the funds to replace those dollars. So I just, one, what do you think the security of the grant is? Is it a federal grant, is it a state grant? Or?
It's a federal grant. I believe it's good. We believe we'll get an extension next year, but obviously we can't say that 100%.
Okay. It just always concerns me because, years later, if the grant disappears, this is, I mean, we generally don't lay people off here, you know, even when things disappear, but it is a burden on people moving forward.
Absolutely, and I understand your concern. We don't see that happening.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had, Captain, the new position will be doing what? Again, explain it.
So right now, we have one in our ghost team. They do human trafficking and narcotics, anything oppressive. So we're going to put this lieutenant in charge of the narcotics and the interdiction, trying to get the, the drugs, illegal drugs, before they get to our community. They'll be out on the expressways, roadways, trying to identify people bringing it in and stop it before it hits our public and our citizens.
Okay, because, unfortunately, I've been around for a while, and, I was here when we initially approved the GHOST funding. It was my understanding that that was just for human trafficking, and now what I'm hearing is it's evolving into other things.
Yeah,
Is my perception correct or wrong?
well, in a way, but with human trafficking, the narcotic side of it, it's always there. So we're seeing, when we're battling this, we're seeing this other element of it. So we're trying to combat them both right now,
Any kind of crime, you're seeing narcotics involved.
for the most part.
I guess I'm just a little concerned in how our initial approval of something is evolving into something else, which happens so often in government. That concerns me.
And with that,
When in the original funding, we originally capped the GHOST at a certain amount, and I know it's gone above that. It's slowly crept up through various mechanisms that I'm not in favor of, but it has. And I'm just looking at that as this is another mechanism of doing the same thing. I'm a little confused, and I guess I don't like being confused.
Yeah, and we're definitely not trying to confuse you, sir. We're just trying to battle drugs, save the community, stop human trafficking, keep everybody safe.
I know, but I like calling something what it is. It's supposed to be that.
Human oppression, it comes in all different, shapes and forms.
I guess I just need, me personally, I would like a bigger explanation at this point in time before we approve this, but I don't know what the rest of the committee wants to do. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Marty, if I could
Yes.
again. Just to kind of clarify, this position is not, the grant is not for the GHOST team, the grant is to the Genesee County Sheriff's Department to fight the trafficking of narcotics, correct? So if you didn't name it GHOST, it wouldn't matter whether it was a GHOST team member or a Genesee County Sheriff's member, you're still getting the grant.
Correct, we already have that.
So,
yeah.
so you're just putting
Yeah.
it under that task force because they fit to work together.
For sure.
Not because there's a funding mechanism to grow the GHOST team. You could have came to us and said, this is just, we're gonna put an officer in place to fight narcotics, and they're just gonna be a sheriff's deputy, a lieutenant, and that's all it is. You guys would just put it as far as the packaging of the branding of the GHOST team as an officer of that.
Absolutely, and our thought was, we already have them in place. We'd have this on the side doing their thing, and when they need to, they can come together and work as a bigger team.
It really doesn't. You're just trying to do it for.
Correct.
More of a branding type of
Yes.
thing with it, okay.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our chair asked, how everybody else felt about it. I'm not opposed to it, but I do support my colleagues' desire to have someone come or have you go back to the team and bring back maybe some additional information.
Absolutely.
In addition to what you provided next Wednesday.
You got it.
Or we take a final vote on it. I also want to say that I don't have concerns with the sheriff's department, getting creative, if you will, shifting this position for this one because you think it's going to help you, protect people more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The sheriff is elected to do that role. My concern is more so as it relates to any impact on the general fund, because the position for the community corrections or the community engagement person, that wasn't a position, that was a salary position with no overtime, correct?
Yes.
And so the position now that you are creating, it's a lieutenant position, right?
Correct.
And that position will be eligible for, overtime. So if there's a need for overtime, then where is that coming from? Is that coming out of the grant?
It would come out of the grant.
Okay, all right. And then, how many directors of community engagement does the sheriff department have? Just curious.
Right now, we have 2 ambassadors. One left maybe month, 2 months ago. I don't know the exact date.
Okay, all right. And those 2 positions, are they funded out of the same grant, or is that out of a different grant? How are those funded?
That I don't know that.
Okay.
I can find that out for you for next Wednesday as well, sir.
Wednesday as well? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments, questions? I'm just gonna make a comment, I'm gonna be voting no, and, but, I'm assuming it's gonna be voted yes, and you'll come back with better answers, next Wednesday, and I may change my vote at that point in time.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Me? Motion passes. Resolution 25-2138, approval of proposed budget amendment to the 24-25 appropriations resolution for various line items as described in the attached budget adjustment request.
Move it.
So I guess we got a motion and a second. Anybody have any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-2139, and forwarding to receive and file a copy of the paid county bills for the weeks ending July 20th, 25 through August 17th, 2025, in the total amount of $21,030,000 and $38.36.
So moved.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-2159, approval of request authorizing the board chair to execute a commercial card agreement with Huntington Bank.
I'll move it.
I have a motion and support. I just need an explanation. Maybe the chair can do that. I don't know who.
Actually, I was just getting ready to ask if Derek would come up and give explanation on this. I'm clear as to what it is, but I think
Yeah, I just need an
for the
explanation, that's
benefit
all.
of the full board, I think it's important.
Good evening, Derek Jones from Purchasing Administrative. So what we're asking is that Genesee County has what we call a P-card program, which is a procurement card. It is currently in our purchasing policy, and it's a mechanism, it's a means in which departments can do small purchases. It's a credit card that we've had that we monitor on a monthly basis as relates to spend. And as again, it provides the departments the ability to purchase those goods and services that have a small value. It also allows them to do reservations for hotels, any type of fees that they may have to pay. And the P card, what it was initially originated back in 1982, was a means in terms of cutting down the paperwork in terms of procuring these small goods and services. We currently have 22 P cards that we currently are utilizing. And the purpose of this is that the county has changed the bank, the institution in which we are doing business with, and we've had some discussions with this institution in their particular program. We've had a few issues in terms of remitting of payment with our current vendor, which is JP Morgan. And as part of transitioning to this particular program, there is a commercial agreement that has to be signed, and has to be signed by the authority, which would be the chairperson. And that's what this resolution is requesting.
Does anybody have any questions or comments of Derek? Yeah, Dr. Brown?
Can you talk a little bit about the expenditures that do occur from the P card? Are these already expenditures that were in the budget? And, you know, would there be a chance for expenses outside the budget to occur?
No. They do have these particular expenditures are reconciled on a monthly basis. in which the departments have to actually input into the system the account number in which that particular charge is assigned to. We do check that to make sure that if it is over budget, that it does go through a process in the fiscal service division in terms of notifying the department of that specific over budget so that the necessary transfer is done.
So the internal controls are adequate.
Correct.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Derek, do we have any policies that, of course, I, support this, I understand it, most like large organizations and entities, it's nearly impossible for some transactions to do them in a timely manner without the P cards. I understand that, because I understand that there are also like some vendors, even for some of the ancillary things, that they require payment like immediately versus reserving and so on and so forth. I would like a list just to understand. I know you mentioned it's like 22 P cards. I'd like to understand, like, how are those allocated? Like, do specific departments have a P card based on the business needs or use, that kind of thing? I'd like to better understand that. And then the other piece is I'd like to understand what kind of county policies. We talked about this before, where we don't have a designated place where we have policies. I've been on the commission for a commissioner the last 2.5 years, and I have no idea of all of the policies that we have here, and that's not good, because there's no specific place. So I'd like to understand what policies we have, if any, that govern how the P cards are to be used, how they should be used. What are the sizes of the purchases? At what point can they be used? What's the nature of the use? Like, all of those kinds of things, I think that we should have something that speaks to that. Can you answer that? Do we have policies that govern how those P cards are used? And let me say this, not suggesting anything has been done wrong. I'm not aware of
Right.
anything. Known you for many, many years. You worked at the city as well. You're a man of integrity, and you do awesome, awesome work. But I'm thinking about not just, are you in the role, but if someone else is in the role, how do we make sure that we protect the residents and tax resources with cars that can be used under the radar,
Sure.
if you will?
So in the purchasing policy under Article 9, there's a purchasing policy that governs this particular program. It tells specifically what the roles of myself in terms of administering the program. It also goes through the monitoring of a monthly basis and what goods and services can be procured as it relates to using the card. We have what is called a merchant's commodity code, in which certain items cannot be purchased, like alcohol. For the sheriff's department, we do have an exception in terms of bullets if they need to try something. But there's a category of these codes in which we go through to make sure that some of the spend is valid. We have also make sure, on a monthly basis, we do look at their actual spend. They have to make sure they have documentation to show what that spend was for, and we go through that. Crystal does a very good job, sometimes better than me, in terms of going through those specific items to make sure that those spends are within our policy as well.
One follow-up question, Mr. Chair. Back to the number of P cards that we have, are all of those P cards only used by your department, or are P cards assigned to various departments, like, for instance, like parks?
The board has a P card in which you utilize in terms of doing your reservations. They use the P card. There are some particular vendors that will only require that you have a credit card in terms of doing business. The 22 are spread out amongst the departments. We make sure that we stay within the policy of no more than $10,000 that is allowed on the actual card. Sometimes we have to make some adjustments during the course of the month. The state of Michigan now is requiring that these credit cards are used in terms of procuring some of their permits, like the off-the-road permit we have to purchase with a credit card. and then some of the other permits that the state requires that we have to do a credit card as well.
Thank you. And how many people do you have? Maybe Crystal can help answer this, and I'll digress and have some more. I'm really interested in how this is being handled, but how many people do we have like designated to like monitor this? Because that's a lot of transactions, particularly a lot of different people using it. Is it individuals and departments? Can the whole department use it? You don't have to answer all of those, but I'm saying, how is this, just to make sure that there's no violation of their policy? And Mr. Freeman, can you make sure we all get the board, send the policy to all of us? But who's watching this, managing this on a monthly basis? Because it's a lot.
So each of those 22 departments they either have a department card, correct me if I'm wrong, or like I have one just in my name. I don't give it to anybody else in my department. If they need to use a credit card, they have to come to me and we do it together on the screen. From there, each department has someone assigned that pays their bills. They're looking at all the backup documentation to make sure it agrees to that. When we get it in our box, we go through it to make sure nothing on there looks inappropriate. Josh can attest, there's been times in the past where I've called him and said, we got a problem. And he's helped us work through that. No, not with Josh, with the department. So Josh has helped us get with the commissioners and work through that, things that were inappropriate on there. The restriction of the commodity codes really helps. It doesn't allow you, like he said, to purchase alcohol or jewelry. I mean, there's a lot of limitations. So a lot of times departments will call upset with us, like, I can't purchase this. So we have to go in, see what it's for, and release it for, if it's something that they should be buying. From there, we also look on the back end when they put in their support for payment. We also look at those receipts to make sure that those look appropriate for what the department should be doing.
Thank you. I'll reserve any additional questions. I appreciate you taking the time to answer those I've posed to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of my questions were answered because I was looking for, first thing, whether it was a debit or a credit card, and obviously when you have to pay it afterwards, it tells me it's a credit card. The other thing is, Commissioner Lloyd was trying to get to is, these stop gaps. What are, is there a limit also on top of it of where we are, some of these extra stop gaps to make sure we don't have any problems? Because all it takes is one bad seed, and the next thing you know, you have a problem. And then in addition to that, what are we doing to secure the card and the information? Because we know how easy it is to hack or to steal a card or to do something like that and use it for something nefarious. Not saying a county employee would do that, but let's say something else would happen, so.
So with the platform that we use, you are able to place restrictions. You can put like a dollar amount, like a maximum of $1,000 per purchase. So we put various restrictions as relates to the usage of the card in terms of one restriction, again, going back to the specific dollar amount for one specific item. Now, sometimes we do have to make adjustments if the department, really needs, like, an example, all the boards going to a particular conference, so we have to make an adjustment as relates to that particular purchase. But we do have various tools in the toolbox in which we can kind of clamp down as relates to what the actual card holder can do. As I say, one of the biggest ones that Crystal said is the merchant code. Another one is the actual spend itself. We make sure that with every department that their particular credit limit does not exceed like the 10,000 as it relates to per the board in terms of the actual spend. And then, one of the we have to, in terms of enforcing things, everything has to be timely. And so, departments have a responsibility, and they sign an actual agreement that tells them specifically, this is what you have to do, and if you don't, you can subject to lose your actual credit card within the department.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Anybody else?
If there's nobody else, my apologies, Mr. Chair. Just two more questions. Who approves any limit increases? Someone hits 10,000 on a P card in a month, and there's another purchase that they need to make that exceeds that limit. Who makes that approval? Who sends that request?
So they send the request to me, and depending on if it's an emergency, you know, and again, we have had some emergencies in which at the time of the particular purchase, which could be at the end of the month, which is somewhat conflicts with the fact that our credit limit has been utilized, and they have to make this particular purchase, they have to go over it. So they send me a request, and I make sure, I get with Crystal as well to make sure to go ahead and approve that request. Now, in the system, what it does, it allows us to, it's just a temporary increase, at which time we can put a specific date in which their regular limit will go back, revert back to their original amount.
I like to see that in a policy that comes for us to approve, like who's approving that. That's important. I just want to make sure that there's never a situation in the future where there's an employee who's, you know, doing that, who has access to a card that's doing it on their own. I think things like that we should have in policy so that it's the practice. And then last question, unless you say something that raises some additional, gas and oil charge purchases. Are there any P cards that are assigned to anybody where cars are being used for those type of purchases? Maybe if somebody has a use of a vehicle. No.
Yes. Sheriff's Office.
On the P card?
Not on the P
Not on the P card, but there's
that's
gas and
separate.
oil purchases
Right.
done on a charge card
Gas cards, right?
for, within the sheriff's office.
Right.
So those contract places like in Clio, the cars typically don't come downtown to gas up, they have a card for gas.
But it's not the 22. That's what I was trying to,
But
okay,
it's not the
thank you.
P card.
I'm all set, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks for that explanation.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 25-2163, approval of a self-insurance auto trust agreement and
Move
MOU
it.
with the state of Michigan. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I now adjourn the Finance Committee.
Government Operations Committee is called to order at 6:27. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Wayhill?
Here.
Commissioner Shoemaker?
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey?
Here.
Commissioner Flewelling? Commissioner Lloyd?
Present.
Thank you. We have the minutes from August 13th, 2025. What's your pleasure?
Move them.
Moved. Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion over the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Do we have any public comment to the Governmental Operations? Any public comment to Governmental Operations? Going once more. No public comment. It is closed. It appears we have no communications, no old business. Under new business, we do have the first resolution, 2025-1231. I would entertain a motion to postpone this to our next committee meeting, given the representatives from the company are not able to be with us tonight.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? You'll recall that we had this on before, and some questions for Savvy. I think that's how you pronounce it. They were not able to be here and may be here in person the next time around. So all those in favor of postponement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. We have Resolution 2025-2078, approval of a resolution recognizing October 2025 as Indian Heritage Month in Genesee County. It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. I'm trying to bring it up so that I can read it. To the Honorable Chairperson and members of the Genesee County Board of Commissioners, Genesee County, Michigan, ladies and gentlemen, whereas the India Club of Genesee County, established in 1974, has served as a vital cultural institution in the greater Flint area for over 50 years, preserving and celebrating the rich cultural heritage, traditions, and values of the Indian community, and whereas the Indian Club of Genesee County has significantly enriched the cultural landscape of Genesee County through vibrant public celebrations such as Holi, Diwali, Navratri, and Republic Day, which foster cross-cultural understanding and community unity, whereas the India Club of Genesee County embraces diversity and inclusion by welcoming individuals from all backgrounds to participate in its programs, creating opportunities for dialogue, connection, and mutual appreciation among communities. And whereas the India Club's commitment to youth engagement, education, and community service strengthens cultural ties across generations while contributing to the well-being of the broader community through charitable initiatives and civic involvement, a scholarship fund through the Foundation for Mott Community College for MCC students has been set up. And whereas Dr. Bobby McCullough, a respected physician, leader, and the president of the American Medical Association, advocating for healthcare advancements and physician leadership nationwide, and his contributions to public health and community service has been instrumental in improving medical access and awareness in the region, whereas Ashoka Rao, a dedicated classical Indian dance instructor, founded Neotal Dance in 1989. Since, Ashoka Rao has played a pivotal role in preserving and promoting Kathak dance, a traditional Indian dance form. In 2023, she was presented with the most prestigious Michigan Heritage Award in recognition of the outstanding contribution to Michigan cultural heritage. Through decades of teaching, she has inspired generations of students, fostering a deep appreciation for Indian arts and culture within Genesee County and beyond. And whereas C.K. Ventaswaran, a president of the India Club of Genesee County during 1982-1983, helped establish a vital cultural and social hub for the Indian community in the greater Flint area, his vision and leadership laid the foundation for the club's ongoing role in celebrating Indian heritage and strengthening community connections. Whereas Dr. Sudarsan Misra, a founding president of the India Club of Genesee County, 1978 to 79, played a crucial role in establishing a strong cultural foundation for the Indian community in the greater Flint area. His long-standing dedication to the club has helped preserve and promote Indian heritage, creating a space for social and cultural engagement. Even decades later, he remains an active member, contributing to the club's mission of fostering unity and cultural awareness. His leadership and commitment continue to inspire generations within the community. Now therefore be it resolved that this Board of County Commissioners of Genesee County, Michigan hereby recognizes the month of October as Indian Heritage Month in Genesee County and encourages all departments to engage in celebratory activities and appropriate recognitions, such as participation in community events, sharing stories, and learning about India and its contributions that it has made to our community and nation. Be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official records of Genesee County and a copy be presented to the India Club of Genesee County as a symbol of recognition and appreciation for its outstanding contributions to cultural preservation, community engagement, and the promotion of diversity and inclusion within Genesee County and beyond. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. All right. Our next item is Resolution -2025-2092, approval of a request by Genesee County Specialty Court in the amount of $143,716.20 per year for the next 3 years to provide staffing for the court. The cost of this request will be paid from opioid settlement funds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported. I wonder if we might have folks who are here to chat about this and share information approach and introduce yourselves by name and title if you would, and then say a few words, and then we'll go back to discussion.
Marlene Colick, Deputy Director of Community Corrections, and I'm honestly just going to bypass it to the host that came to ask for us.
I'm Bree Benham. I'm the Director of the Specialty Courts for the county.
My name's Mark Lachon. I'm a circuit court judge and the judge who presides over the recovery court program.
I'll squeeze in. So we were approached, and when I say we, the opioid executive committee at that time, and you'll understand why I say at that time here shortly as we go further through the agenda, by our recovery court, specialty court director, if you will, and as we knew this was coming, and I say we again, the opioid executive committee, As you Board of Commissioners know, we've had MSU out in the community doing our community assessments. That report is completed. We have projected dates to hopefully present to you guys here in the next month or so. But as we knew at this time of our life that unfortunately federal grants are being cut left and right. And so we understood at this moment that even though MSU was doing our community assessment and we were waiting patiently to do any type of spending regarding the opioid settlement funds, our recovery court, obviously team members over here of the county, advise us of the projected losses that they will be receiving in their department specific to recovery court. And as you guys will read the memo, it will literally indicate specifically to a staff member leveraging, not supplanting the full basis, but leveraging two individuals, one being their full-time manager that oversees a majority of all the recovery court participants, and I've worked with specifically for the last 16 years, and then their clerical, about 30% coverage of that. And I commend Brianna, because this is not just the only loss that they have been projected for their department. They have others, and she has worked diligently and just has committed to the process of trying to fill those other gaps. And so with that, I'm going to step aside. I did present this request to our opioid executive committee, just so everybody is aware. I didn't come up without, obviously, our support of our board, and nobody had any objections. They had specific questions to the funding, but it is for positions. It is not for any incentives. It is not for drug testing. It is specifically to leverage and supplant funding that is projected to be lost upcoming fiscal year start of October 1st. And with that, I'll give the floor to Judge and Brianna.
Yeah, so for some context, we've been asked, our primary funder for this program is SAMHSA. We received a $2 million grant, which is over this current year and then the next 4 years, so $400,000 a year. In talking with them, they have advised us to expect a loss of anywhere from 10 to 20% per year. We're hoping that it's more towards the 10%, but obviously that is up in the air at this point. They have not heard anything from federal government as of yet as to what's going to be cut specifically. We know that harm reduction efforts are being cut fully, which fortunately we don't have written into our grant. But we're basically just waiting for the federal government to make a decision. As far as other losses, like Marlene stated, we are losing some money from the State Court Administrative Office as well. So far this year, they've already taken back about $35,000 of our funds that have already been allocated. Other programs are losing funding left and right as well, so they're doing their due diligence to reallocate funding where needed, which we understand and we're working with. But I would like to have this funding to give us a little bit of time to procure additional federal funding. We were initially proposed to work with our evaluators to apply for separate federal funding, but unfortunately those grants were pulled down with the announcement that the federal budget was being reworked as far as grants. So my hope is that if this is passed this year and the next 3 years, will give me time to secure more long-term funding, and we won't have to rely on these opiate settlement funds because obviously they won't be here forever.
I'll just offer my 2 cents, which is to say that I commend both of these ladies for the hard work that they do and keeping our program working. And I will just say that from my perspective, the Recovery Court has been in existence since 2002 and has used 0 county dollars to fund it. It's always been grant funded. This is the only time we've ever come to the board and asked for an expenditure, and it's not of county funds, but of opiate settlement funds. I think there's been some question with regard to how those funds can be used. There's no limitation with regard to their use as long as we're using them for a substance use disorder. And the reality is the opiate problem has run its course, quite frankly. I mean, the vast majority of our folks may have had opiate problems in the past, but currently we're serving a population that is, fentanyl and methamphetamine is, quite frankly, our biggest problems right now. But these funds obviously didn't come before the opiate problem, and we dealt with the opiate problem with the grant funding that we've had in the past. Thankfully, that is not as much of a problem, but there'll be a new problem here any second. We were able to attend a conference this year, which sort of painted a scary picture of some of the things that are on the horizon for our communities. And as has already been said, this request is for salaries and personnel, not actual program items. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have about our program, or about the request, and hope that you approve it so that we can continue to serve the residents. I mean, our programs are obviously limited to people in Genesee County, so we serve this community. We have a ready-made population of people coming into our program on a daily and weekly basis. And if we're not able to secure these funds, I can only imagine that we will have to reduce the amount of people in our programs so we can effectively serve those that are in them. And I think that would be obviously a loss to the county.
Thank you all.
I can
Marlene?
add just specifically to that, what that also does is increase our prison commitment rate, because the individuals that are specifically eligible to recovery court are individuals within the straddle cell. And when I say straddle cell, specifically when criminal justice is laid out, there's intermediate, which are low-risk offenders that would never touch any type of prison. Straddle definitely is a give or take 50-50, as it's a decision-making in those agreement bargaining processes. And then presumptive, which are capital cases, which are automatically presumed for prison bound. And so with any loss of funding and capacity means that there's less options and alternatives to offer to, obviously, our judicial, and that, again, in turn, increases our prison commitment rate.
Thank you all. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, what happens if the funds aren't lost? What happens if they aren't lost, if you receive full funding? Because the one group said from their organization you might lose 10 to 20% of 400,000. So that's anywhere from, that's $40,000 to $80,000, and we're being asked for $140. So
Commissioner Shoemaker, we would definitely make sure at the time of contractual agreements that their items are issued to us in writing of how much was lost, so that we can give them the fullness of that, and it's projected as a maximum to this price. So I totally hear what you're saying, and it's not an automatic 143. If it's showing the projection is less than what is projected, then we would only fill up to that point.
if I may continue, Mr. Chair.
You may, Mr. Shoemaker.
Thank you. Obviously, a lot of the board, some of the board was not here when we received these funds and what they could be allocated for and so on and so forth. I think as a board, if we could actually get a list of what these funds could be spent on, because they're limited to what they could be spent on, obviously, and so the board.
I'll just speak to
the
that,
board
because I
would
did
know.
some research this afternoon. There are no limitations in terms of what you can spend it on, in terms of substance use disorder. So it's not limited to just opiates, if that's what you're thinking.
No, no, I'm saying we can't
I mean,
spend
the
it
city of
to
Flint bought
replace the.
ambulances with
Yes,
it, so.
I'm saying we can't use it ethically to replace our fleet of cars at the health department, per se. There are certain limits. You could say you're doing it to treat opioid abuse or drug abuse or whatever else like that. But what I'm saying is we can't use it to fund additional things out of general fund,
Within
to be
Exhibit E,
clear.
Yeah, if you, go ahead.
within Exhibit E, I have been in discussion with Corporation Counsel, and some questions were raised specifically by Commissioner Wayhill that was brought to our attention specifically. We have went through this with literally a fine tooth. She knows I've been on her regarding just numerous questions, because I was preparing for that. And Exhibit E does specifically note specialty courts within that process, and so it's not an addition, it's within the parameters of what's allowable use outside of the terminology opioid use disorder, substance use disorder, mental health. Recovery court and specialty court is written within Exhibit E as an allowable cost to be offered within the opioid settlement funds.
Well, go ahead, but I'm gonna.
So this is related to your line of questioning, and if I may. So the person I depend on to interpret the law is the Corporation Counsel's office. So earlier today, got a hold of Brian McMillan. He told him that I wanted to make sure that all 9 of us had a clear understanding of what these dollars could be spent on, because I know there are some things that we can't spend them on by the settlement terms, which are laid out in the attachment that they mentioned. So I'm wondering if we might allow our corporation counsel just to say a few words about what he found when he looked at it today and how it relates to this particular resolution, because I think it feeds into exactly what you're.
Well, if I can
You may.
clarify, mine is not that this is not a justifiable use of these funds, so to start with that. But to be fair to the rest of the board, there's a limited amount of what we have, and there might be other options what people want to see, and we don't know what those are. But I'm not saying this is not fundable, this is obviously under the parameters of that, so, thank you.
So, yeah. You're on.
So, I thought you were going to ask more questions.
The spotlight will be installed next week, and you'll know. Just
Yeah.
when it comes out.
I did have a discussion with Brian. I know Brian had discussions with Marlene, and we looked at the information that was provided, and some of the things that were significant is we're not wholesale paying 100% of salaries. It's targeted. It's 50% of Rhonda Judd, 30% of Mary Moore. There are certain courts that this funding is not going towards. It seems to us that it's an attempt to be proportional and to make sure that these funds are being used within the permissible restrictions of the opioid settlement and the document that restricts their use.
Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, I can work with Corporation Counsel to get a memo out to you guys that kind of lists those eligible uses, which I think is what you're ultimately asking for. We can get that exhibit together for you guys, and we'll get you something next week.
Thank you. So I also called I don't know if her title's consultant, but she's essentially a consultant for the Michigan Association of Counties today, so she could refresh my memory on this topic and some other things related to spending the dollars. Just to make sure, this is one of the first times we've been asked to do this with these funds. So I wanted to make sure that there was a level setting of information and facts that we could all hear at the same time about what's eligible, what's not. And the other piece of it is that there is a group that was formed, the executive committee, I think you're referring to it, and I don't know if I'm an official member or ex officio, but I go to some of their meetings and observe the discussion and participate. The idea would be later on in this agenda is to codify a group with certain people that we would then appoint as a board of commissioners that would then come back to us with recommendations, non-binding as I understand, on how we would spend dollars each year for the 18 years of the settlement. And so it was important to me to know that this was appropriate. And some people may disagree that this isn't a good use of the funds, which is totally fair. I mean, if you don't want to put it towards these courts, that's a fine vote. My goal was to figure out, could we do it based on what was stated, and was it appropriate? Any other discussion? I have some questions, but Commissioner Shoemaker, go ahead.
You want to ask your questions?
No, please, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. One, this is not so much for you, but for Josh, if you give us his number, to the full board, what we're receiving annually for the 18 years, what we have set aside already, those would be good things to know.
I can tell you that.
You are correct. We did create a board at a time. Some of us were not in favor of the size or the scope of the board. When I say some of us, you probably understand who I'm saying. You guys had, thank you for that, Josh. You guys had stated, if I may continue, sorry. That there's, the big issue is fentanyl now, and.
Meth is a huge increase.
Okay. Question. Are those drugs produced here in Genesee County?
I'm sure they are.
I have no idea. I've been doing drug court since 2011. Nobody's ever asked me where the drugs are produced. I don't care where they are because I know they're here. And I know that members of our community are suffering with addiction from these substances. So where they come from is not necessarily the concern of the recovery court and the request of the funding, quite frankly.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. I don't understand I'm really kind of, it feels like you're being short with us, and I'm a little, I don't understand where that comes from. We're asking questions, trying to get you funding. But
Maybe I can ask a question that I just don't understand where that question, how that's relative to the
because
discussion.
sometimes prevention, like if we have an outbreak of a disease, we try to figure out where it's coming from so we can stop it before it continues to spread. You sitting here trying to understand where I'm coming from, when you're coming down here asking for something from us is a little, with the tone I'm getting, is a little frustrating. I understand you have what you guys want to do in your agenda also. I also see it from a different perspective that guess what? If we stop the source, just like they tried to do with various diseases we've had spread or different things we used to have, we used to get reports on contagious diseases throughout the county, and we'd have an area that was a hot spot. We'd try to stop the spread. So that's what my question has to do with, is the fact that, guess what, do we have?
If I can answer to that a little bit, so our programs don't take anybody who has manufacturing or distribution charges. That's listed in statute as something that we can't take. We do have some referrals that are manufacturing, distributing in this county. So I don't know if you would consider that, I guess, you can make a meth lab in your basement, so.
No, I understood that.
Yeah, so that.
Fentanyl's a little tougher to.
Absolutely, yeah. So
It is.
we're not certain. We do have assigned probation agents that routinely, as written into our participant agreements, they search their phones, which we have had some incidences of, dealing. It's usually prescription medications that they're getting, like Adderall or things like that. And we do terminate those people, and they do have charges issued for that. There's instances for sure, but.
Could you use the opioid funds, though, from this program to help those people that are kicked out of the program for production, then?
I guess I don't understand.
You said a minute ago, and I'm sorry I didn't catch all of it, though, that this program won't allow you to treat somebody who's basically a supplier, is the way I understood it, or something like that.
Correct. And
So with these funds, though, because they're not as restricted, could we treat those people if they needed it?
I guess it's not listed as something that's not allowed by the opiate settlement funds. That regulation is just for our specialty courts, so.
So just, like I said, all the options should be put out there in front of us as a board when we're spending these dollars. This is another option for that. I'm just forgive me for trying to get to the bottom of it. Anyone who's watched me, I don't like things just being dropped in me, said this is the way we're gonna do it, because this is what we think. There should be more ideas and broader ideas, and we have to answer for those ideas as a board.
Right. Our program is meant to help high-risk offenders, so they might fall into a category. I will say a lot of our participants, at some point, you have to support your habit somehow. So they dabble sometimes in dealing to their friends, but they also just use that money to support their own habit. So, I mean, we do get some of that admittance, and I think that we are able to get down to the bottom of those ideals with treatment, and they do come around. And at the end of the day, our mission is to prevent recidivism in the county. We do have like an 85% success rate across all of our programs. So we do have people, that success rate, our definition of success is that they don't reoffend within 2 years of graduation.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Thank you. So back to the drugs that are of issue, and this is why, again, I'm going on this. If there's a limited supply of fentanyl, obviously we're gonna see a decrease in usage, right?
Depends. They'll probably get it from somewhere else, if I'm being honest.
Well, this is fentanyl, and I'm sure the sheriff's department could attest, is a little tougher, and I've asked them where it came from. We gave them a grant before, and it's generally not local, is where most fentanyl is.
Absolutely. In an attempt to try and answer that, could someone make fentanyl here in Genesee County? It's possible, but highly unlikely. It's coming from Mexico, from a cartel, shipped all the way up, either by, roadway, which is the most popular way. They will fly it in. It can come through the mail ship, but it's definitely coming from a different source than right here in Genesee County.
And like I said, I'm just trying to get an idea of this, because, like I said, treatment's wonderful, and that's good. You guys have a high success rate, but we also have an obligation to try to figure out if we could use these funds to maybe stop it from entering. Because you could say that not having it doesn't help it, but as someone who has some alcohol problems and some drug problems in their family, if it's not around, they're not allowed to get to it, they're not using it. So, a supply and demand type of a thing. And eventually, if they want it bad, if yes, they will, but then let them go to another county if that comes to that point, to get it, not Genesee County. That's why we have the GHOST team, because guess what, you wanna do it someplace else, but you're not gonna do it here. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom, just to see what we can spend this money on. I'm sorry if I've upset some people with asking where it's coming from, but I think it's a viable question from there.
Let me speak to that. It's not that, I think you're talking about me. It's not that I'm upset about that. We have a difference of viewpoint about that. We have federal agencies that investigate, prosecute drug trafficking, especially the kinds that Captain are talking about that come from other countries. And so I'm more focused on the residents of Genesee County in terms of treatment court, which is what we were here to request the funds for. So if I was being short, it wasn't on purpose. It just wasn't really a question that had occurred to me about the source of the controlled substances. Our request is more of a local level, I think.
Thanks, Dale.
You're welcome, Commissioner Shoemaker. Commissioner Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, team, for coming. You know, this is a very, very important matter. And like, as a county commission, so many different things come to us. Like, we're not experts on all of the pieces. So there are certain things we may spend more time on asking questions because we just don't understand. Fentanyl piece is one that's come up to me, and there have been like parents who reached out, even at our church, who've talked about, like, you know, desiring for the youth to be educated on this. As a matter of fact, at our church, we actually just did a training 2 Sundays ago, like on a Sunday morning while church service was going on, for about 30 youth, to not only talk to them about fentanyl, but also to train them on how to use Narcan. And we also had some available for the youth to have, those that there was comfort with parents and stuff with them having it, because there are major concerns about young people getting a hold of fentanyl, potentially overdosing, not being made aware of it, not understanding what Narcan is, how to use it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we literally just did that. And Dr. Lawrence Reynolds, who's a member of our church, he facilitated that, and I assisted with facilitating that with the youth. So very, very important. I am interested in what the funds can be used for, because educating our youth across the county is very, very important, so that they don't end up in your court. And if these funds can help do that and other things. I just raised what we did 2 weeks ago as an example of why this is of interest and why there should be a lot more broad discussion about it. My request is to our office add on to a request already about the funding and how the resources can be used on the resolution that we have coming up in a minute, Resolution 2025-2144. There's some information in there, and it says Genesee County is projected to receive over $13 million over a total of 18 years, in which a total of approximately $6 million has been received. So I'm curious, this is the one question I have for you all. Does anybody know when we started receiving these settlement monies? I don't remember if I've been told before. That's the question. The second piece is, I'm just curious, how does that money come in? Because if it's $6 million already received, where are we in that 18 years to get to the 13 million?
First answer, almost 2 years to point. We've had it. We have approximately, as you indicated, over $6 million sitting in the bank. The only funds that have been expensed thus far, which we just literally started releasing funds and expensing funds, are for myself and then the RISE deputy coordinator, which corresponds to the jail MAT this fiscal year. So approximately, I would say almost 180, and Chris will be able to tell me, between the two will be expensed for this fiscal year for us specifically. And then annually, there's funds, and maybe a couple times, but there's 12 distributors, and so each distributor has an agreement settlement that describes what their requirements are to put funds in the bank. And then the new settlement provider of Purdue, I know Corporation Counsel is working on them, because that is a current settlement that is being worked upon currently.
So I plan to support this, so the information requesting doesn't change my support for this on next Wednesday. but I'm interested to know if we're 2 years in, the projection of 13 million is for 18 years, we're already at 6. That money's coming in fast, and
Yep.
I don't know how fast we're sending it out, but you understand the numbers on it. So I'd like to understand, along with how we can use it, how that money is projected to come in over 18 years. So we already have 6 million. Is it the majority up front, a little on the end? I just want to understand that.
And then I'll do a solid. So Exhibit E was issued as an attachment with the allowable costs within the settlement agreement, but I'll take it. It's a very meaty, and I'll work with Corporation Counsel to make it simple talking points for you guys, so it can just be a Cliff Note version. It was attached, though.
One last add-on to that. The other add-on is what other organizations, departments, if there's any other programs that we have in the county that's using the opioid funds. So we have kind of like a holistic picture. It's not, okay, all right, thank you.
There aren't any. But what we have requested, so we can go further, is to ask organizations within our county to give us their projections of what they may be losing within their federal agreements here in the next few months as just a planning and a precursor for our county.
Sure, thank you, that's it.
Do we have Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is about the latest settlement with Purdue. I know Corporate Counsel is working on that, but is there any indication that that settlement will have different parameters around it in terms of use?
Honestly, you never know till the point of completion. Mallincroft have different reporting requirements compared to Janssen and Johnson & Johnson. So you never know till that point.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? All right, I've got some questions, just some of these are clarity issues. So the motion is in a precise amount. It doesn't say up to 143,000 and change, but the way I heard you describe it earlier, it should be up to. Is that correct, based on whatever the federal cut ends up being? Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if we need to amend it or we can just understand that it's up to. So that's one point I wanted to make. The salary piece for the specialty court coordinator, it's 50%. And I don't have it in front of me because we've got a whole agenda packet, which I can't get into at the moment, which has more detail. But it looked to me like there was a huge amount in that person's compensation for retirement.
Yeah.
And like $100,000 a year. What is that about?
The first ride, the deferred plan portion, the retirement.
She's a defined benefit versus a defined contribution, pension versus 401.
Okay, so her salary is $80,000 or so, and she's getting $100,000 in retirement.
No, she's not getting $100,000 in retirement. They're contributing $100,000 towards her retirement.
Yes, yeah, well, that's what I meant, but thank you for that. That's not good. All right, I have some more stuff here. Hold on just a second, if you would. All right, let's see. And then the specialty court operations specialist 2, that's 30%. So are the percentages based on what are the 50 and 30 based on, and why is there a difference?
So my clerical position is more spread out amongst all 4 of my programs. Primarily the specific person we're talking about, I would estimate her to be about 60% felony, but we do have the state court administrative grants, so those also cover a portion of each of these individuals. So while the SAMHSA recovery court grant is being cut, we're still moving forward as if the state court administrative grant for adult felony recovery court is going to be the same as this current year.
Okay. And then if I'm right, the mix of grants that you have, are they all state except for the one that's at risk at the federal level?
We have, yeah, the one federal grant, primarily all state court administrative office, and then we do have one grant through the Michigan Health Endowment Fund.
Okay. And then what does SAMHSA stand for? You said it as an acronym, but
The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Authority, I believe.
that's federal.
Yes, federal.
Okay. And then the other clarifying question, in the motion, it says 140, it gives the specific amount, then it says per year for the next 3 years. So I take that to mean 143,716.20 starting October 1st in a couple weeks. That's year one. And then, is it 2 more years or 3 more years beyond that you're, and would we be approving those 3 years in this motion, or is it year by year?
My request is only that this funding come to me as long as I need it. So my hope is that whether it's the 2 or the 3 additional years, that I'm able to procure other federal funding and that I won't need this.
I get that part. So then in the backup materials, it says, oh goodness, it says renewable for up to an additional 3 years. So is the motion this year, October 1 to September 30, and then 3 more years, or is it the next year and then?
I'd have to ask purchasing for
Chairman?
guidance on that specifically.
Mr. Freeman.
Resolution, as it's written, which is what you would be approving, is for 1 year. It's just for this upcoming
That's right.
settlement. Anything beyond that would require additional action by the board.
Does that mean they would not have to return to ask for subsequent?
It would,
No, we're
because
gonna
the
come.
the way
Yeah.
that the resolution is
Okay.
written, it's only for fiscal year ending 26.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yep.
And I think that, I was going to suggest that because I think that will allow us to gauge where you're at and have a better understanding if there are other funders that are coming to the table, if you've been able to secure any. And then, of course, we'll have other requests by then on how to spend these dollars, which you'll have to compete with probably, but it is what it is. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification,
Mr.
you
Freeman.
want it for an up to amount, correct?
I think so, yeah. I think it needs to be,
Change in the
yeah,
resolution for Wednesday.
unless there's any objection, we'll make the up to without a motion, formal motion.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Thank you both. Appreciate you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. All right. Resolution 2025-2093, approval to increase purchase order 24-02274 by $10,000 to Zetas in an amount not to exceed $55,000 to provide required vaccine supplies to meet the need of Genesee County's animal population. Is there a motion?
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there discussion? Mr. Shoemaker.
Just, I'm sure this is in their budget to do this. Okay, thank you.
Are you looking for someone to come forward? You're good? Okay, all good. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution 2025-2104, approval of a letter of agreement, amendment number 1 for fiscal year FY 2026 between Genesee County Community Corrections and Genesee County Sheriff's Office regarding the Residential Substance Abuse Treatment, RSAT, in-kind matching grant for a RISE Deputy Coordinator.
Move it.
It's been moved. Is there support?
Support with a question.
Moved and supported with a question. Mr. Shoemaker, do you want to start with the question?
A little more explanation just to
Okay,
start off with.
let's start with Marlene and Captain Murphy. If you want to share a little bit about this.
Arlene Colick, Genesee County Community Corrections. I'll have Captain introduce himself, and then I'll speak if you want.
Jason Murphy, Captain, Sheriff's Office.
Much love, I appreciate that. So why bringing this? So a year ago, you guys approved for us to match a RSAT grant that was issued to our Genesee County Sheriff's Office from our Michigan State Police. At this moment in time, that grant is sitting on their desk and has been yet to be notified whether or not, we don't have the final approval, if you will. We're pretty projected we'll be receiving it, but obviously everything is on a halt because there's no budget anywhere at this time. And so in our world, we're approaching the end of a fiscal year. And now, granted, this RISE coordinator was timely to the point of the RSAT grant last year, but the duties that are being conducted by the RSAT coordinator deputy are required for the processes to be seamless in our jail and there is not a disruption of services, God forbid, there is a stop of services in our federal government. And I say that so I can give a proper visual to what takes place, and Captain will correct me if I'm not wrong, but I've been in the jail with them creating this process to our rise. And individuals that are booked in our jail are being triaged right at that moment. The next morning, that's a great song. Hey, I'm gonna hold myself and not start singing for sure. But the next morning, Deputy Mankowski is literally on the computer identifying who those individuals are, what their needs are, and are matching those individuals specifically to organizations and representatives. Example, substance use disorder, pre-recovery coaches are matching with them if there's a mental health criteria issue. Medical comes down and sees them no matter what, but we already have extra social services, mental health advisor through our millage comes in and meets with them. And then, most importantly, if there is a substance use disorder in regards of withdrawal, those individuals are then matched to our jail MAT, hence the specific coordination to the match grant. At this moment, we want to make sure that our processes at our jail are not going to stop and have a halt of services, and we are under impression highly that this grant will get continued. We have requested, we being the Sheriff's Office, has requested an increase to that RSAT grant at the amount I don't know at this moment in time, but I do know to hopefully incorporate another coordinator through the medical office, because individuals are being seen at this point of withdrawal, and I know some people obviously are following up, which is a huge success. So unless Captain Murphy has anything to add on, this is just because we're at this time of the year and the one grant is ending September 30th. And we definitely don't want to stop any services October 1st.
I think this position's vital. It helps ensure that the care is continued when people come in or when they are released back to the community, and it's very important to the process.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to clarify, we have the grant or we don't have the grant? You said it's sitting on the desk, so what do we do
It's
if
been
the
submitted, I
grant
know they're
doesn't-
reviewing it.
Okay, what do we do if the grant doesn't come?
Can I be very honest with you guys? Because I don't mess with any humans' money, and these are, again, individuals that lost their lives. But Deputy Mankowski in this RISE Deputy Coordinator position is integral to the processes that we do with their RISE process in the jail. And even outside of this RSAT grant, this position incorporates as the helm of meeting individuals right where they're at, them appropriately. And without that, you're going to lose so many people when they leave the door that the follow-through is going to be lost, and that's exactly what we don't want to happen. And even if the RSAT grant was not continued, our peer recovery coaches and all follow-up representatives are still going to be leveraged within our jail to assist, but we still need a staff to coordinate that process for everybody being booked in the jail, and like proper visual, yeah. And I say that because our team here at Pretrial Services conducts the pre-bail assessments for our felony charged defendants prior to arraignment. We're not even seeing the misdemeanant, so this deputy is literally touching every human and triaging their cases who are entering into that county jail of ours, and that's civil, misdemeanor, and felony charged defendants. We follow up with our felony charged defendants again at pre-bail and confirm that that referral is either conducted or already, and we're usually late to the game because they have up to 72 hours before arraignment.
Commissioner Cousineau.
Yeah, forgive me for my ignorance of how your operations and how it works. I don't even know how to ask this question, but how does this operation relate to the previous request under Finance Committee for a new position? Will that person with Ghost, if approved, will be working with this? Will those people interact or what?
They could definitely interact. They won't be working directly with them on a day-to-day basis.
But there'd be communication.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
How long have, to the chair, how long have we received this grant?
The RSAT grant is an annual submission, but obviously it will all be dependent on what happens here at our federal and our state budgets.
Well, this is state funded, right?
Well, our SAT, I believe, comes from the federal to the state, though, if I'm correct.
So what percentage of this person's salary is half of it's covered then by the grant or the whole thing?
No, we have currently 83,000 that goes towards this position, and it's the whole package. And we went above the 25% because the need was so there for the numbers that were coming within our jail.
Okay. So if it isn't renewed, the grant is not, we won't have this position, or we're gonna have to take it out of general fund or get creative.
No, I would request that the continuation still go within our Exhibit E under our jail reentry processes, which is covered within that exhibit as still the continuation where it meets currently. The definition of the position wouldn't change. It would just mean that we wouldn't have that RSAT grant. The processes in our jail within regards to jail MAT and the RISE coordinator, we don't want to change it even if we lose the RSAT grant. We have processed and worked diligently and hard for that implementation to be conducted. We were granted the opportunity and the privilege to receive an RSAT grant for definitely the piloting and the implementation. If that doesn't continue, we've made some huge strides in Genesee County, our jail, to have individuals now being triaged at it, getting matched up with jail MAT services, and follow-up and completion. We don't want to stop those services, sir.
So the answer to my question is yes, you would be coming to us to fund that.
Not specifically through your general fund, though.
Okay, to the opioid
Yes,
funds or
sir.
something would be coming. So it would not be grant funded.
Yes.
There'd be no other way, there's no other grants out there. then, probably.
Supplementals at this moment in time, no.
All right.
But
thank
we
you.
would work harder for us to find other opportunities if we find out diligently that that grant is terminated. And I mean that, even that means for us to solicit our foundations, we will begin to work diligently. It's just the unknowns that are keeping us stagnant.
Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution 2025-2134, approval of a proposed amendment to the 2024-2025 appropriations resolution,
Well,
reallocating expenditures within the community corrections budget. It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. We have Resolution 2025-2141, approval of a request to rename and reorganize the Department of Community Corrections to the Department of Community Engagement and Justice Services. Chair would entertain a motion.
Move it. Support.
Moved and supported. Do we have discussion?
I don't have discussion. I read the rationale, maybe to be good, just for the public benefit. But I want to ask, can we, the animal control, those resolutions came to us some time ago for us to do that, and I think we waited because we may have been in between terms. I can't remember why, but I know at least I committed to take it back up. So can we bring those resolutions back and bring the director back so that we can move forward his request too for the board's consideration?
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, what's the cost to rebrand this? Well, there's obviously a cost. People have business cards. People have their signs outside of buildings. There should be a cost associated with it. We asked these same questions to animal control when they wanted to change, and there were costs when we got into it. So, I mean, to be fair, what are the costs?
For these costs under our administration dollars, there's funds for any type of administration under our grant dollars. There wouldn't be a cost to the general fund whatsoever. Any business cards we do right now are all purchased within our department. Anything of that nature all comes within our grant funds. We don't utilize any general funds in our area.
So, obviously, there's some signage to direct people and so on and so
Absolutely.
forth. That'll need to be changed. Website will need to be changed, so there's cost for those items also. So like I said, there is always more cost than what we always lead on. And here's the question I have, though. To change this, yes, you have grant funds. That's a great a great thing that's not coming out of general, but what if we didn't do this, what could those funds be spent on? Could they be spent helping a person or doing something else or taking care of a staff member? Because that's the question. What are the opportunity costs we're giving up to spend this? And I know it's not a ton, so don't get me wrong, but I just want to have an idea what the cost is before we say this is okay, because it might be larger than you think.
I can definitely investigate specifically the costs and get with each department just to get an idea, definitely before the next Board of Commissioners meeting. I will state under our grant, it's separated, program dollars and then administration dollars up to 30% for us in community corrections. And so none of these funds that would support any new signage or business cards or anything would ever come out of our program dollars. They would come out of our administration dollars. And I will even give the board this. Our central service administrative costs went up this fiscal year, and so we did a budget adjustment number 2 here a month ago to give that increase so the request wouldn't come for the general fund. And so anything and any increases that take place, we do our due diligence to make sure that that happens in the appropriate line items that are allowable within our grant.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have additional discussion? Commissioner Lloyd?
No, I'd like for you to talk about the rationale for the public benefit. I think it's important, especially as we continue to work to improve, to elevate, improve, to enhance culture in Genesee County. As we continue to elevate the profile of the county, I think names matter. And in this instance, I've thought the same when it comes to this name. And so can you just briefly
I would love to give a history. I also want to make sure that I introduce my counterpoint sidekick as Tiffany Jones, our Community Corrections Coordinator Manager. I'm honestly, we're kind of ecstatic for us to even present this. We've been thinking about this for a few years now, and then when obviously Commissioner Chair Lloyd came into the selection, he challenged us departments to give some community county priorities for our department. 2 of those that are specific to this is the resolution for Opioid Awareness Day, which we celebrated last week, so I thank you very much for completing one of our priorities, unbeknownst to you. And then the second one was to rename our department. And now I give the why. We are community corrections. We create alternatives to incarceration. We are not changing that process. But since we were granted the opportunity to overwhelm our opioid settlement funds, it changes the metric, and it doesn't just change because of that. It changes because the evolution of our time has been changing. I myself am not just committed to community corrections or jail work. I'm in the community. I'm in the community when it comes to gun prevention, any substance use and mental health items. They're not just specific to our corrections. And when we are approached by our community members, when we mention community corrections, it just has a bad connotation to it. And you have to then say, no, we create alternatives to incarceration and justice impact. And then you see somebody's pressure, their shoulders decrease, because they're, no offense, Captain Murphy, they're like, you're not a deputy. And so we get a little breathing room because we're a neutral party. And as you'll see in our next agenda request, there's a reason why everything is divine, because the next agenda request is going to ask specifics to our opioid settlement processes and creating committees and bylaws specific to that. And our community quote-unquote corrections, which is still the grant funded item. We're just asking for the umbrella to change to community engagement and justice services. And under that have 2 umbrellas, community corrections and the grants that we fund under that, and then the opioid settlements and the grants that fund under that, or the opportunities that are funded under that with other organizations, so that the monitoring can happen appropriately and that we're setting up our department and matching to the duties that are truly being conducted.
Thank you. As a closeout on this, if nobody else has something, and back to you, Mr. Chair, you say corrections in the community, especially in communities like ours where urban centers where there's, crime and such. When you hear the corrections, you think about incarceration, probation, and parole, none of which you are engaged in and involved with. And so I support the name change. I think that it better aligns, and I think it's important if you're seeking to help people through the work that you do, that you're not turning them off and turning them away just on approach because of your name. Thank you.
Do we have additional discussion? So for next week, I think what I heard in terms of Commissioner Shoemaker's request, any hard expenses or direct expenses that result from the change, you'll get that to us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you both. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution 2025-2144, approval of a request to create the opioid settlement steering team committee.
Move it.
It's been moved and supported. Do we have discussion? Marlene, do you want to come forward? Is this your last one? Is this your last one?
I promise.
Well, I'm not
pinky
insisting it
swear.
be your last one.
It is, though.
This has been the Marlene show tonight. So would you give us a little explanation? I kind of know the background, but and introduce Michelle if you would, or have her introduce herself.
I am. Michelle, introduce yourself.
Michelle Ryder. I work for the county clerk, and I'm on the opioid executive committee, as it's named now.
I speak fast, but I'll give a history. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for Commissioner Wayhill being on our committee. And because of Commissioner Wayhill, he has brought his expertise of what his counterparts are probably going to look for when we are planning our processes for the future. And when I say that specifically to when we come to the board with recommendations for funding opportunities, what we want to post, and all that. And so I will be very clear, a few weeks ago, a month or two ago now, at this point, I was preparing our opioid executive committee at that time about obviously the projections that are being lost by federal funds and planning the committee appropriately of what may come. And then honestly, specialty court contacted me like a few weeks later, so it just happens quickly. At that meeting, Commissioner Wayhill asked specifically, was there a steering committee? Were there bylaws to our opioid settlement process here in Genesee County? And the answer to both of those were no. And Michelle and Commissioner Wayhill, obviously knowing the governmental processes, said we really probably should backtrack ourselves, go back to creating a thorough process for our county so that we could have some background, some history, and then protect ourselves liability-wise before we go to post any true proposals regarding the opioid settlement funds. And so at that time, Michigan Association of Counties is a technical assistance, great provider with us, and Amy was at that meeting, and she gave us some great directions and said some counties do it, some don't. And then she had some wonderful templates and guidance to give us. And from that point, we started beginning to draft the documents. We issued it to the executive committee. That executive committee will now be announced as the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee, and they will have any type of interest. Any human will be able to be part of that advisory committee. The steering team committee that you see, the charter recommendations are again templates from the Michigan Association of Counties. Those steering team members and committee members would be voted to you as a proposal from us that we would be coming back to you. Examples, university members, foundation members, our health department, persons with lived experience that will be sitting on it, our commissioner that will have no conflict of interest to the processes when we go again to do our procurement processes here for future bids. At this point, that is why our rename to the department is so beneficial at this time, because it truly creates the umbrella that was drafted and gifted to you guys to give you a visual understanding of why it is pertinent at this point to do some true separation of duties and accounts within our department. And Michelle, if you want to add any additional, please.
Yeah, so the issue that we ran into with the impending funding cuts is that a lot of the members of our executive committee are also providers who would be in turn coming to us for money. So we had to quickly kind of reorganize that and come up with people that can review those RFPs to bring a recommendation to you guys without conflict. So the important part about this committee is that it is done fairly, so that when we come to you with recommendations, we've kind of streamlined that process. It gives you all a chance to be more involved, have your questions kind of answered more quickly. And it really just needs the structure and the organization of any other committee that the county oversees. I do want to say something quickly about, I know most of you probably by now know why the money exists, but I want to reiterate for the public and anyone else who's listening, people died for this money. The lawsuits were a way to hold the pharmaceutical companies accountable for what they've done, and if we don't use this money to save human beings, then it's pointless. It's just money that will go, like the tobacco settlement money didn't do anything. So I want to reiterate that this is lawsuit money, and the victims are the people who have suffered. So just like in regards to the specialty courts, I had questions about when I saw the resolution as well. But the bottom line is, it's a jail or a prison diversion program, and getting people the help they need and getting them back out into the community as productive people is really the goal. I'm always going to come at it from a human perspective. I know that we all have different roles, but I want to make sure that people know why that money exists.
Commissioner Winfrey.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused. You're asking the board to approve appointing a settlement steering team, and you already have a steering team in place?
An advisory council. And so in that advisory council has members like New Paths, greater GHS. There's individuals on that could put bids into, proposals into our bids and our future bids. And so it was time for us. We haven't done that at that point. We haven't got to that point yet. And so it was smart for us to start truly looking at who was at the tables, how would we be able to move forward on this? And so it was a pertinent suggestion from both of their parts. We knew it was happening, but we hadn't got to that point yet. Are we here to present true recommendations for core remediation, utilizing the funds outside of emergency requests that have taken place? And so this committee will be able to do that and build true scope of works, put them out, and then obviously bring in those proposals and review them.
And who would appoint this steering committee?
You guys would. We would bring you guys some recommendations that are offered. I would. So recommendations that are offered, I would then ask that individual if they have an interest, show them those items, and then we would bring that quote-unquote steering team recommendation to you.
Okay, so would this be an ongoing, continuous committee, or?
I think it says it's a 3-year specific. I want to say it's like 2 or 3 years that it lists in the charter. Don't quote me on that, but there's a time frame to the committee itself.
Okay.
All right. Do we have go ahead, Michelle.
It's important to know the committee that we have in place now has been mostly going over the stuff that MSU, the technical assistance, and reviewing where the gaps are in the community. So it's been mostly prioritizing and kind of waiting for that data to come in. So that's why there hasn't been much spending to this point.
Yeah, there's no bylaws, there's no real structure, if I may say that. Marlene, I think, is the nominal chairperson. The request that she referred to as an emergency request from the judge and others it came to the group, but there was consensus. There were really no questions, but there was no official vote, I don't think, to recommend it. So this is a best practice, what is in front of us, based on Michigan Association of Counties, their technical assistants, Amy,
Yes.
who I think we should bring to a commission meeting at some point, because she's amazing. So when I'm there, I'm trying to encourage structure and process, and it seems like we're at the tipping point where we're going to start wanting to spend more money. I think I sense that. We don't know on what yet, but this committee is going to help us at least have recommendations, which are non-binding, coming from people that do not have a conflict of interest because they work at an organization that's also applying for the money.
That's accurate. Yes, sir.
Additional discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm understanding what we're doing here tonight is we're going to form this committee How many members are we thinking that are gonna be on this committee, or you would like to see on this committee?
I'll be very honest, it's an unknown, right? So in that, it lists some departments, some agencies, and it says maybe from like 8 to 12. It just will be dependent on who we're able to solicit and how many of those individuals from those organization representatives that wouldn't have any type of conflict of interest opportunity.
Okay.
I can give you an example. So I'll let you know for me, I've already requested a professor from U of M, professor from MSU. I have somebody from Ruth Mott Foundation that I've requested, Community Foundation. I've requested some individuals that and the health department, persons with lived experience, for sure, just to name maybe about, and Genesee Health System is a sit committee member. They've indicated they could be because they also oversee the millage dollars. And so we're bringing in individuals and representatives, organizations that also have some support financially to assist. So when we're building this, maybe in the future, we'll be able to in plenty forms. And I want everybody to remember that these are opioid settlement funds. We have yet to approach our multi-jurisdiction within our county. We want to still go to our city of Flint, give them our data metrics that our MSU has found to try building reports together. This is just the beginning process to allow us to have some true structure.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
Not so much to you, thank you. To the board, you know, we've tried to get our committees kind of structured so we kind of have a control, and they're moving the direction the board would prefer as far as application process, as far as approval. We can actually ask questions and interview them. So my recommendation for this is that we would take it and put it under the appointments. We would take appointments like we do. We take applications and we create the committee. I think we should work with you to see how many members you would like on it. And obviously, you can talk to each of the commissioners and talk to people why you think they should be on there, just like everyone else lobbies us if we want someone, whatever else you would like to do. But I think it'd be a great practice. We'd be a little more transparency in the process. Hopefully, we can get some different ideas out there, because obviously a lot of the problems several of us have with certain the way committees have been set up or put together is the fact is we don't think there's a lot of diversity in the ideas, the way we see things and so on and forth. And I think this will allow us to do that. And I like where you're going. Obviously, there is a conflict of interest with the other group you have. And from the beginning, we discussed, we'll leave that dog lie. But the fact is this is the right place. I just want my board to see what they think of the fact we put it under the appointment committees. We work with them on how many, because sometimes you can just get too many people and it deludes what they're trying to do. So I'm not opposed to passing this, but I think we need to put something in place that we should have Dale meet with these young ladies and put together like a number of people she would want on it, and then we send out for the appointments and the process and everything else like that, if that would be okay with the government operations chair.
Yeah, I wonder if there might be value, because this is kind of a big deal, I think, and it's a big step, and we want to make sure we get it right. And this is the first time that all of us are having this discussion and really seeing it. I've had a preview because I've been participating, but I don't know that there's an urgency even for us to pass this to the full commission for next week. I would almost suggest that we might postpone it to the next government ops so that everyone, but certainly the committee members, have a chance to read through the resolution. I noticed today, and I talked with Ben about it before, there is a number recommended in the resolution, but it's one number in one section and another number in the other section. So it needs a little cleaning up regardless. And so I would entertain a motion to postpone it for 2 weeks or whatever our next meeting date is. I assume it's 2 weeks, so that everyone can take a better look at it and have more discussion at that time.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we postpone. Is there discussion on the motion to postpone? And I want to thank you both, because the passion that you all bring and the others bring to those meetings is palpable, even though we're remote when we hold them. So, and I said it's the Marlene show, but it's really your group that you've been shepherding for a couple years now, and now there's all these pieces that are coming to fruition. So thank you and congratulations. All those in favor of postponing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. It is postponed. All right. Government Ops has a lot tonight, doesn't it? Resolution 2025-2150, approval of a purchase order to Covetrus North America for the fiscal year ending 2026 in an amount not to exceed $95,000 to provide vaccines, medical and surgical supplies at Genesee County's animal control. The cost of this purchase order will be paid from the account listed.
Mr. Chair, can I move items number 9, 10, 11, and 12 together?
Support.
Support.
Sounds like you can. All right, it's been moved and supported. Is there discussion on items 9 through 12? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to postpone resolution, item number 3, resolution 2025-2171 to the next governmental operations.
Is there
Committee.
support?
Support.
Moved and supported that we postpone 2171. Is there discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. 2025-2175, approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Stoltman Law PLC in an amount not to exceed $167,500 to provide mandated legal representation of respondents and associated legal services in probate court proceedings. The cost of this agreement will be paid from the account listed. Is there a
Move it with
motion?
a question.
Move it.
Moved, supported. Commissioner Shoemaker.
This is something we've passed before, if I'm remembering this correctly.
If you would state your name and your title.
Thank you. Sam Olson from the Juvenile and Probate Court Administrator.
This is something that's come before us before.
Not
This is new?
No, not this particular contract.
So was there a new was legislation passed that would put us in the position that we have to hire this position, or where do we come up with this then?
This was the product of an RFP that was put out over the summer for these services.
Okay. I mean, sorry, I'm not evidently being clear. This position, I realize you sent out for RFP for someone to bid on.
Correct.
But why was the position created then if it's not something that is being mandated by the government?
Well, these are mandated, yeah, I understand now. These are mandated appointments for certain proceedings of the probate court. Historically, the court has operated as a like an informal list for seeking appointments, and we'd have attorney of the week who would, for a given week, would be assigned to certain filings that would come in. That's not a tenable model anymore, and so this was the first volley for contractually getting a contractual engagement with this type of appointment.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
So we're mandated by the state to do this. Am I?
Yeah, the law requires the court to appoint attorneys for respondents in these types of proceedings. That's correct.
But they aren't supplying us with any funding like they do other mandated
No,
positions at times.
this isn't, no, there weren't funding we got from the state or anything like that. We just have to, it's a due process cost that we have to.
Is there a reason we didn't just hire our own county employee to do this and we went outside?
Well, we couldn't really hire a county employee to be the attorney.
So let me correct myself, I'm sorry. Is there a reason we couldn't hire an attorney to become a county employee to do this?
No, we wouldn't have like a staff attorney do that. Staff attorneys are appointed for judges, like law clerks and things of that nature, but it wouldn't be an in-house attorney that would representing respondents, no.
If I may.
You may.
You know, with all these, I see all these come in front of us, and I constantly see different expenditures with outside organizations, and we hold our employees to a standard to make sure they're doing their job correctly. They're holding things up to the standard we would like. I see all these come in front of me like this. What is the metric to assume this person is doing their job well or not doing their job well? Is there an out clause in this contract because of poor performance? What is the metric for this?
It's one of the benefits of engaging, of course, with any contract is we use the standard county agreement where termination for cause and termination for convenience. And so when we blasted the RFP out, we required certain minimum continuing legal education and acumen in this particular area, specifically representing elderly clients and those subject to mental health proceedings. So yeah, we're closely, very closely involved with who we appoint, whether they know what they're doing and are experienced in this area. And so we're quite pleased, frankly, with the bid we received and the attorney group who will be taking on this scope of work for the probate court.
Obviously, they're representing people who need assistance. So, but back to my main point is, how do you know, yeah, they're showing up, they're doing things, but how do you know how do we know they're doing a good job or they're representing themselves?
Well,
And us, or their client?
well,
Correctly, because I'm just gonna give you a quick example what I mean to maybe clarify. There are people who are assigned to patients at different hospitals that are supposed to be their court-appointed liaison to make sure they're getting the health care they need. The care that these people receive because they're waiting for this person to respond, they can be in pain all weekend, they can't get the drugs they need because you can't get this person to respond. That person's not doing their job because they can't be contacted. What I want to understand with all these contracts we produce is, how do you measure success with them? I guess that's the simplest way of whether they're doing this correctly, whether they're doing what's best for the customer, I don't want to say customer, for the resident.
sure.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, of
We
course.
spend all these funds, and, you know, a while back, I asked about, you know, we had the school contract for the Juvenile Justice Center. I wanted to see what was a standard for success, what it was. And like I said, I wasn't pleased with what that was. I'm just wondering what you guys see as a standard for this and what will be success, so we can measure it.
Yeah, it's certainly a good, with probate appointments, it's a little more amorphous than, say, like maybe a criminal case or something of that nature. That's all I can, just a little more of a amorphous type of outcome, if you will. So, for example, under the mental health code, every single petition that's filed with the court for involuntary mental health treatment for a respondent requires immediate appointment of counsel within 48 hours. And a hearing must be set within 7 days. There's no two ways about it. The mental health code is very, very strict in terms of turning things about. And so we have a number of attorneys who obviously must engage with the client after 48 hours and then must reach either what's called like a settlement agreement, where their person would agree to take medications and a course of treatment in lieu of a court order, or they have to appear the next week before the judge and go through a hearing. So we have yet to see any issue of an absence or someone not responding or anything like that with the attorneys that we've been engaged with. So in terms of success, we're quite pleased with the timeliness, the organization ability, and the ability to know the acumen and respond to folks at Hurley, folks at McLaren, folks in the jail. So in terms of a metric, it's not really viewed that way in terms of mental health proceedings. I will say we have probably one of the highest in the state for petitions for mental health treatment in this county. Our numbers each year are around 1,000 petitions, which is an alarming number. Not necessarily with respect to the fact that they're mental in that subject matter, but it's just a lot of work to do and a lot of mandated attorneys to be appointed every week, every Monday, every Thursday, do conferences and then come back Wednesday. So I wish I could, give you some chart about success, but it's really not, those aren't really amenable to a metric that I can explain other than the raw numbers and the fact that our attorneys we're not hunting attorneys down. They know where to go. They know when the hearings are, and they know who their clients are. We're really pleased with that scope of work. The other scope of work, again, is a little bit amorphous. It's guardianship proceedings and conservatorship proceedings. So if we have someone who's getting up there in age and a loved one files a petition with a probate court because that person may or may not need a guardian, and they have an objection to the proceeding, they have objection to who would be their guardian or any of the above, the court is obligated to appoint counsel there. And so, again, we have a very high volume with filings in the probate court, quite significant, in fact. And to date, we've been satisfied that our attorneys in this area have done a nice job we've just reached a point in time where we've had to change our model from an informal attorney of the week to a more official, regular scope of work with a contracted group of attorneys, because unfortunately, we are sort of the last vestige of the old school way of doing things, where attorneys were knocking at the probate court, say, I need some work, let me get on the attorney of the week. Now it's the other way. So we unfortunately don't have a very young fleet of attorneys in Genesee County. I think the members who are eligible for the younger attorney group is literally one attorney. So I know that's maybe a long-winded response to what you're asking, but we view this, we've been, doing this in this fashion for years, and the probate court is probably the last court to say, we have to think of things differently to sustain our obligated legal appointments, or otherwise we'd be in a difficult position. So in terms of success, look, we hold our attorneys more accountable than anybody. We don't want to chase attorneys down, and we don't want to have to adjourn hearings again and again and again because we don't have an order in place, we don't have an attorney there, but we're our own kind of analysis group on that. And so I'm actually quite excited about what we're venturing into, but at the same time, it's year one, and we'll be very exacting on what we're doing with this group. So I wish I could, like I said, it's not really metric based, but.
No, I appreciate what you're saying. I'd like to talk, I don't want to belabor everything. I would like to talk to you more about the fact is, from the resident who's needing the help, their opinion of how it went, what the metric is for, do they feel like they were serviced correctly? Do they feel like the attorney didn't represent them to the fullest? Those are other metrics I'd like to discuss with you at a later time. I won't belabor it. So,
that'd be just fine.
Thank you for helping from there, Josh. Help me facilitate something just so I can have some questions answered and see what we can do to make sure that we are taking care of people, because just because they show up doesn't mean that they're actually operating in what the client's best interest they felt is, so.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're
It's
saying.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, sir.
You're welcome. Do we have additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you, Sam.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, I move to postpone resolution 2025-2225
It's been moved and supported to postpone. Is there
to
discussion?
the next committee.
Next committee meeting?
Yes, please.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Appears we have no other business. We are adjourned at 7:52. You're welcome.
All right, we're going to call the Human Services Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Winfrey?
Here.
Commissioner Avery?
Here.
Commissioner Getzinger?
Here.
Commissioner Kuzma?
Here.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Yeah, present.
All right, this time we entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So
Move it.
moved.
Support.
Properly moved and supported. Any discussion, corrections? Here none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Are there any public comments to this committee? Any public comments to this committee? State your name and place of residence.
Got the right committee. Public comment now. I apologize for earlier. All right, my name is Brooke Gow. So hello again, and I just stated my name, but I'm just going to reintroduce myself. My name is Brooke Gow. I'm the Executive Director of Family Service Agency in Mid-Michigan. And while I deeply appreciate your decision to maintain the already signed fiscal year 25-26 contracts for the senior millage, I just feel it's important that I share my ongoing concerns for the years that'll follow. So just a little backstory about me. I've been working in nonprofits for over 10 years. I have a master's in public administration. I'm a certified grant writer. I understand budgets, grants, and the entire process on a very, very deep level. This is my life's work, and I do not come to these meetings and express the concerns that I have without logic or basis. I advocate hard for your very own constituents and programs that keep them alive, because I know it's really not as simple of a process as finding funding elsewhere when funding is lost.
So that being said, all 3 of my service provider contracts through the senior millage were reduced in this upcoming fiscal year. It is a burden that I completely understand. I respect the decision, but we did not anticipate it. I have the utmost admiration and respect for the wonderful ladies who run our senior millage, and I also understand that they are faced with making decisions that make sense for everybody who needs funding from the senior millage pot. But these reductions, just looking into the 25-26 fiscal year, I would like to highlight. Transportation services, our monthly wait lists remain over 100 persons long each month. That's 100 Genesee County seniors, homebound seniors, without alternatives who will miss vital medical appointments. And this budget cut we saw in this year's budget comes at a cost of not allowing our program to expand and obtain a 5th vehicle to help tackle some of these wait lists. Our visual and hearing impaired program was reduced by $25,000, which will attribute to less available funding for devices, aids, and supports. Our advocacy and guardianship services, $30,000 less will be available for those seniors in our community who rely solely on family service agents, their voice, family, and advocate. And I want to be clear that these are not just numbers on a budget line, that these are lives, our neighbors, our veterans, and our greatest generation whose quality of life depends on these essential services. We allow them to age in place at home right where they belong through senior millage programming. Our seniors are going into advanced aging under an impossible economy Social Security does not accommodate. Nonprofits everywhere, as we heard tonight, are suffering due to vast federal budget cuts. Services and programs are scarce, and the need is higher than ever and only increasing. Every single day, I receive call after call from seniors inquiring about services, finding out how we can help them. The ability to help them is becoming harder, and I anticipate wait lists to double as these needs increase. To remain committed to working with you and to educating all of you about why these programs, all service provider programs, must be properly funded, not just sustained, but also allowed to grow. I do invite everybody to please reach out, and I will do the work of reaching out as well. Come and shadow myself or a member of our team at Family Service Agency and see firsthand the seniors that we serve, the lives we touch, and quite literally the lives that we save. Thank you for your service to Genesee County and your continued partnership in supporting our seniors. We're located right here in Flint. I appreciate your time.
Any other public comments?
I was pleasantly surprised that this podium went down because when I walked in, I said, I'm not going to be able to see over that. So that's very cool. My name is Sabrina Bouchard. I also work at Family Service Agency. And at this point, I've just been on maternity leave. So I've been watching online. So I just wanted to really take a couple minutes to introduce myself and the service that I provide to Genesee County seniors. So like I said, I work for Family Service Agency, and I'm the director of our vision and hearing impaired program here. I just wanted to take a second to share the unique and important service that we provide. I think it's also important for me to share that I am a licensed master level social worker providing these services, and we also have a part-time bachelor's level social worker that works alongside me to do this also. We provide on-site, in-home consultation for social work services. This includes referrals to outside community members that might be able to help these seniors in a way that we can't with visual and hearing impaired. We also take an extra step to help follow up and ensure that these seniors are benefiting from those services, or if they need more, or if it's too much, things like that. So it's a really full circle service that we're providing there for social work consultation. We provide a thorough assessment on every area of the client's life, not only their vision and hearing. We purchase and train these seniors on adaptive aids to help improve their skills and independent living and really emphasize on a higher quality of life within their home. We also provide support groups within senior centers who allow us to for vision impaired individuals. We have a pretty good turnout for these. It allows these seniors who have either anticipated this loss or had a sudden loss in sight to be able to understand and share their life and their grief with other seniors. I also provide individual and home mental health services for these seniors who are struggling to cope with this sudden or gradual loss of hearing or vision. I have been to conferences to learn and to share about the service that we have here in Genesee County, and I've learned that it is unique to this county. We do not have anything like it in any other county and no other state that I know of. Many people are impressed by Genesee County and what we do under the senior millage with this program. I hope that this gives a small insight to how important and unique this service is for our population of seniors in Genesee County who desperately need this help both physically and mentally. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you guys. Last time I was in front of you guys, I provided you guys with some numbers that I'm sorry, I should introduce myself. My name is Seth Neblock. I'm an attorney. I'm the supervising attorney of the Senior Elder Law Division of Legal Services of Eastern Michigan. And last time I was in front of you, I gave you guys some numbers and that tell a tale about how I could make a really good argument that the money that you guys grant to us pays for itself in terms of taking the burden off of other county departments and the probate court and the register of deeds and all that. And I could provide you guys with lots of numbers that reflect the amount of people that we've helped. But I think that instead of giving you guys a lot of numbers, it would make more sense, and I would rather tell you guys a story. Okay, and I'm going to do my best to be quick with my story, but I'm kind of probably going to go a little over time. A few years back, a lady came to our office, and she was looking for help. I'm going to call her Mary. That's not her name, but that's the lawyer thing. Mary had gone to her dentist, and her dentist told her, "Mary, we're sorry, but your teeth have gotten to a point where I'm no longer able to help you. You're going to need to get some dentures." And Mary was unhappy about this, but she understood. And so she contacted an oral surgeon here in Genesee County and made an appointment to see this surgeon. And she went to see this doctor, and he said, "Yeah, Mary, we're going to get you some dentures. It's going to cost $5,000. And now Mary is a lady on Social Security, and she got a small pension, and that was a really big expense for her to pay out of pocket at one point. She said, "Doctor, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this." The doctor said, "Don't worry about it, Mary. We have a credit company that we can connect you with right here in our office. It's called Care Credit. It's basically a credit card company that provides funding for medical procedures, and then but it's essentially it's a credit company." So they signed her up for the Care Credit, and and then they started on the procedure. The doctor did some of the preparation surgery in her mouth to prepare her for dentures, pulled some teeth and did bone grafts and things, but it wasn't completely done. They were kind of like she was halfway done. So she went back a month later, because that's what the healing time in her mouth required, that she wait a while, and then went back for the next step and found the doors to this dentist's office locked and closed. And he had gone out of business and declared bankruptcy. Okay? She wasn't sure what to do. She found a few months later, or actually a month later, she started getting bills from this credit card agency asking her to pay the bill for these dentures that she never got. And she didn't know what to do, because now she has to go pay another dentist again to get the proper care she needs, but she's also being asked to pay for the care that she didn't receive. Eventually, this credit card company sued her in district court because they want to collect on the money they gave the dentist. She was terrified of being sued, in real shock, because she was concerned her meager pension was going to be garnished as a result of a credit judgment, in court, and she knew she needed a lawyer. The problem was that to hire a private attorney to defend her in this suit. It's probably gonna cost her more than the $5,000 that she's being sued for. They don't give you court-appointed attorneys in civil court. That's just for criminal court. So she either had to find a lawyer or go stand there in court and try to defend this herself, which she knew she wouldn't be able to do. So she came to Legal Services of Eastern Michigan. She heard that we provide free legal services to seniors over the age of 60, and she thought she might be able to find some help here. When I heard her story, I took her case, and I agreed to go stand up and represent her in her court. They tried to do a little negotiating. The other side wasn't going to budge, so we ended up having a trial. We were down in Judge Lachana's court down in, he used to be down in Burton, now he's here, but we were in his court. We had a trial. I actually put Mary on the stand. She was a great witness. I feel bad because she broke down, started crying, explained her story, which was really heart-wrenching and sad, but inside my lawyer heart, I was kind of really gleeful because it was a beautiful, very impactful witness. And everyone in the court wanted Mary to win this case. I'm telling you, the other lawyer was probably like, oh gosh, I hope Mary wins, okay? And when we got to the end of the trial, I knew Judge Lachana wanted to find for my client, but it was a challenging spot for him because he's legally, the credit card company didn't do anything wrong either. They had a contract to loan money to this client. They fulfilled their end of the bargain. They should get paid back plus interest. That's the contract that was signed. So it's not like they didn't. The bad actor here was the dentist who was gone, absconded with the money and protected by bankruptcy law. So Lachana wanted to rule for me, but he needed something to hang, a legal theory to hang his hat on. So I went back, I did a lot of research. I did some rather creative legal wrangling, and I wrote a brief and I submitted it to the court, and it was good enough for the judge. He found in my client's favor. And as we walked out of that courtroom after that final hearing, Mary reached her arms open to me and gave me a big hug, broke down, started crying on my shoulder. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've been so very concerned. I've been staying up at night. I can't sleep because I'm so worried about how I'm going to live if my pension gets garnished. Okay? And that made me feel really good too. The reason I tell you this story is because if you look at, if you try to look at the impact of the services that are provided by not only legal services, but a lot of the other service providers here in our county, if you try to look at them from a standpoint of pure numbers, you're not going to get the whole story. You look at that situation, that's one client served by legal services who provided X amount of hours of their service. That doesn't really tell you the impact that the service that we provided had on this client. And so that's a really challenging thing to quantify. You know, how do you quantify that impact? Is it the same as, because we're all different service providers providing different kinds of things, and it can be a real challenge. I think in order to actually understand the impact, you would have to be intimately involved in all of the senior community and all the different, providers and services that are out there in our county, and that would take a very long time. But luckily for the seniors here in Genesee County, you guys already have a team of people who are doing that, and that is your passionate and dedicated professionals that you have in the Office of Senior Services. That's what they do. They're out there in the trenches, in the front lines with a lot of us working to do what we can to make seniors' lives in Genesee County better. And they are in the best position to understand the impact, more beyond the numbers, the actual real-life impact on seniors' well-being, on their mental and physical health, on their independence, all these other things that the senior millage service providers give to the senior community. And so I would wholeheartedly endorse anything. If they told me, and I honestly don't know what's happening to legal services budget going forward, I have no idea. No one's told me. But if it is told to me that it was decided by the Office of Senior Services that our grant was going to be reduced, I wouldn't be happy about it, but I wouldn't come here and complain to you guys because I know that the people that made that decision did so with the seniors in Genesee County's best interests in mind. I know that.
Thank you, sir, if you would wrap up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize for going so way far over time. Thank you for your consideration. Have a good night.
Are there any additional public speakers? Hearing none, public comments are closed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
as we go into the resolutions, I have two groups of resolutions I'd like to move as master resolutions, if I may do so.
You may.
But if, with your approval, I'd like to move item number 34 up as our first action item, if that's okay. And that's the approval of the request to create the Genesee County Senior Services Advisory Task Force. Can we deal with that item first, and then I'll move
yes,
the big
sir.
groups? Okay, I'll move that one for approval, for
It's
discussion.
properly moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yes, I just want to, first and foremost, thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Winfrey, as well as Commissioner Wayhill and Commissioner Dr. Brown as well, for kind of harnessing the concern of the group and yours as individuals in your district, and really taking the time over the last couple of weeks after hearing such variations and comments from public vendors and senior centers. And I believe that you all have come up with something. I'll digress so you all can speak to it, that helps us as a board address this matter and the concerns in a way that is not, what's the term I want to use? That's a way that's responsible, you know, one that's measured, and one that allows us to do our due diligence and be responsible as county commissioners. So I just want to thank you, Commissioner Winfrey, you, Mr. Chair, you, Dr. Brown, for what you have put together and proposed to us here tonight. So I'll digress so that maybe one of you can speak to this, because I think this is how we, as you presented it, how we move forward.
I'm going to defer to our wordsmith, Commissioner Wayhill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So I was going to defer to you, Mr. Chair, but so this is a matter of some concern, significant concern. Seniors are important members of our community. We've been hearing for several weeks now people who have passionate belief in the health and the well-being and the quality of life of our senior population coming to this microphone repeatedly. And I don't question at all the motives of anybody. I think everyone is sincere. One of the fundamental issues that we're up against as a commission is we've got limited dollars, like we do for everything, and unlimited need for a population. And so it occurred to me after the last round of speakers that there might be value, or there would be value, not might, but would be value, in putting together a 9-member body, people that are not connected to any of the providers of service. That would include the senior centers, the 16, and then the 17 other providers of service. So no members of their staff, no volunteers on their boards of directors, no vendors that provide them with services and get paid. A 9-member task force with each member, one member appointed by each commissioner here at this table, to take a year. And this would be a temporary group just for a year. It could be extended at the end if we chose to do so, and really delve into this issue. There are many, many facets I have found. I know Dr. Brown's been visiting with senior centers. I've been having conversations with both senior center as providers, but also with some of the other organizations that do it, including the gentleman, Bob Nelson, earlier today about the lawn and snow service. All of these are great, of great value, but I think we would be helped out, and it would behoove us to have an independent group really drill into it and look at data, but also look at human stories of seniors and what their needs are. This millage was just renewed last year. It was renewed not as a millage that is only going to one type of organization, but a senior services millage for people 60 and up in our county. And there's 100,000 or so of that group, and I would venture a guess that the vast majority do not receive any services from any of the providers that I've articulated. So there may be other resources and services that they need that we don't know about. So all of that is a long way of saying that one thing I'm trying to do is lower the temperature and lower the rhetoric a bit, and be more thoughtful and appoint a group that can help us think about this more for the next budget year, not this October. I think there's a solution that the chair and others worked on, where there's at least a one-time increase to senior centers that is reflected in this document for this coming year that starts October 1st. But going forward, we'll have hopefully much more information so that we can make more informed decisions in October of next year. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right. Any further discussion? Dr. Brown.
I too want to add my thanks to Commissioner Wayhill and to you, Commissioner Winfrey, for taking the lead with this. I think the creation of a task force there is a lot of value in that. And I think they will, I hope that if it passes, that they will bring forth lots of rich information for us to consider. I've also been in some conversations with our university partners in this community, and had a brief conversation with U of M Flint, the new provost over there, earlier today, as well as with Michigan State University when they had their ribbon cutting just, I think, 2 weeks ago. And so I think there is power in having joint research institutions, U of M Flint and Michigan State University, collaborate on an objective research study on the senior millage. Because if you think about it, we do a census study every 10 years, and we've renewed this senior millage for also a 10-year period. But we need to really understand and reflect on the value, the allocation, so many other factors that Commissioner Wayhill has talked about, and really determine whether or not allocations need to change. But again, we can't do that until we have some hard, objective research. And we are very blessed in this community to have two premier research institutions right across the street. And so I would be in support of a task force in addition to a research study, if we can get the research partners to get on board with us with that.
All right. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, if there's no other comments, I guess in conclusion, I'll say this, that, I think a takeaway for residents and those who have attended the meetings is that the County Board of Commissioners heard concerns raised, and that we took the remarks that were brought before this body serious, and that out of that came an action and came what we see as a path toward determining a solution. And the other thing that I'll highlight is that, given the time period that we have prior to going into the budget, there's a limited amount of time for there's an ocean of work that needs to be done in a teaspoon of time. I'll say it that way. And so there's just not enough time in this moment to go through and do all of that work that our colleagues have suggested be done. So I think, I think with the adjustment with the senior centers, I think that all parties, I'm hopeful that they'll be pleased that this body is actually doing something with the comments that they brought. Again, thank you three, particularly, and the board as a whole, if we pass it, for your work.
I forgot one thing.
Dr. Brown.
Thank you. In my conversations with the senior service folks in my district, I want to just publicly thank Lynn, Allison, and Brianna for the excellent work that they do, because I heard glowing responses from all the work that your small but mighty department does for senior services. And I just wanted to publicly.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move item number 1 through 16 for approval.
Properly moved and supported. Any separations? No separations, any discussion?
And that represents the allocations for the 16 senior centers.
Correct, this represents a 5% increase of,
Yes, it does.
across the board.
Mr.
Any
Chair.
discussion?
Yeah, these are all, the contracts are all the same. The only thing that varies is there's 2 levels of support financially, and other than that, they're all the same.
Yes.
All 16 centers.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move item number 17 through 32.
And I support that too.
Properly moved, item 17 through 32. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I move item number 33.
I think we have a substitute
amended.
motion, resolution.
As amended. I move it as amended.
Okay, correct. And the amended resolution reflects two funding awards, one in the amount of $290,476, and the other in the amount of $305,798. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. That completes our agenda, and this committee stands adjourned.
Okay, I'd like to start off the Public Works Committee. Call to order, roll call, please.
Commissioner Flewelling, Commissioner Avery,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Lloyd.
Present.
Okay, next I'd like to move Resolution 2025-2232, approval of meeting minutes, August 13th.
So moved.
All right. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We have an opportunity for public comments, going once, twice, and public comments is now closed. Any communications?
No, sir.
Okay. Old business? All right, so we'll move on to Resolution 2025-2090, approval of request by Genesee County's Drain Commissioner to sell parcel 619-300-022 to Fenton Township.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Any questions or discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Do we want to create any other business, or you want to go home?
Do whatever you want. Sure. Public Works is a model of efficiency.
All right, there's no other business. This meeting is now adjourned.